Insight. No, it is really, even though I'm in some sort of weird, like, place I'm not normally, and also Monty's into, like, Darth Vader's base, basically. Remember that one where he came out of, like, that they put all that stuff. Actually, so problem is that sounded like we were talking about Nerd Legion over on LFN Culture Channel. That was just a poll, whatever. You can go on that one. It's a YouTube channel there. They talk about Star Wars and Star Trek and all sorts of stuff. And guess what? Never confuse the two. Otherwise, well, Dor wouldn't get mad at you because he's too cool, but real nerds will. So, all right,
now we will begin with our complaining about formats, because you know what, Thorin?
Had to be done. Yeah.
You know what, Thorin? I now am seeing ridiculous Reddit posts telling me not to complain about the Swiss system.
Brilliant.
Because here's the thing, Thorin. The worst is yet to come. People don't realize the landmines are everywhere.
It's always the 2-2 game, mate. The 2-2 games are the ones that'll kill you, especially because there's two aspects to it, mate. Not only can you get the bullshit one, like we're going to talk about, like, two teams that probably shouldn't have a chance can play each other. But it's even worse, Monty. A lot of people don't understand. The actual results of Swiss also determine the bracket. So actually, it is a big deal if some, like, top Asian team got, like, a killer, a murderer's row, like they say in poker, mate, because then they're going to be like a 3-2 team, and then they can play a 3-0 team. So, like, KT Roaster, for example, could just play, like, Gen G in straight up in the quarters. Meanwhile, you can have some nonsense ones. So yeah, go on, give me what the landmines you're already looking for.
All right. So here's the thing, because you have to remember how these teams are going to get seeded. Now, everybody knows that JDG and Gen G are going to be the 3-0 teams on opposite sides of the bracket. Now, the thing is that because there are going to be 3 teams exiting at 3-1 and 3 teams exiting at 3-2, the 3-2 teams get randomly drawn against Gen G and JDG. So one of the 3-2 teams is going to get a much easier matchup, just arbitrarily, right? Just arbitrarily. And, you know, by that logic, too, one of the 3-1 teams is going to draw the other 3-1 team, and then the last 3-1 team is going to draw the other 3-2 team. So you can already see the problems here in quarterfinals. But the real issue, Thorin, is that after the first round of competition, all the seeding has been entirely random. There is no strength of schedule seeding in order to determine the next matchup.
Insane thing, Monty, where rather than acknowledge this and just actually listen, if you like a system that's just, like, randomized and you want crazy matchups and you want, like, really unfair or variable matchups, Monty, just acknowledge that's what you want. Instead, what they've done, Monty, is, you ready for the Jungian analysis here? What they've done is sublimated their pleb sense that they just want WWE. Oh my god! And they've made this fake narrative that this, like, literal, like, fucking NPC Korean type guy is, like, the one drawing them. And they've done that thing that they do, Monty, which I hate about esports, where you believe in caster curses and you believe the guy who picks a random ball is, like, choosing the one. And so everyone's like, oh, and they've made this guy like the avatar of creating the matches. Like, he's saving the West. Like, no, that's the system. Like, he's just picking randomized. Like, he has no selective power whatsoever, does he?
I mean, you can really just see the flaws with this system very apparent, especially because of KT's draws. Like, KT has had to play BLG, DPlus, Weibo, LNG, and there is a possibility that they could play BLG again in a best of 3 to determine. And would you say, guys,
that like T1 or something? Exactly. I know it's metal, isn't it? I know.
Meanwhile, Cloud9 or Fnatic could win and then play NRG for a spot in quarters. And you're going to go ahead and tell me that this is somehow fair, especially because NRG's path, by the way, was losing to Weibo, beating Team Liquid, beating Mad Lions, and into G2. And even if they lose this, they would just have to, like, they could literally get through here. This was the scenario that people talked about, where a Western team can lose to all Eastern opponents that they face and still make quarters, which is bananas. That is completely bonkers.
Like, look, we're obviously not saying we favour NRG to win the best of 3. But the point is, because of the way the tournament's gone, this is where they're all messing up, Monty. Because they're not thinking properly about the format. They're only looking at who you play. They're not looking at who you won and lost against, right? So they'll say something stupid like, but they played Weibo. Right, by the way, Weibo is the worst Chinese team.
Seed.
Arguably the worst of all the Asian teams. They just had a higher ceiling than D+, right? So when you play that team, it's not about that. It's about the fact that, as you say, you never had to beat them. You never had to win that game. So the stupidest part is this, like you say, because NRG beat Team Liquid, team that isn't even supposed to be at Worlds from LCS, but EG fucked up and TSM fucked up. Then they beat Mad Lions, who everyone has memed on for months, by the way. They had to get, 9-game losing streak or something. Now, if you just Remember, anyone could fluke like a BO3 against vaguely comparable opposition. Like, basically, think of this, right? Say G2 wins game 1. NRG has like a really nice close game 2 where they just win like a late Baron game. And then game 3, all you need is a fluke. A one-game fluke, and bang, you're in the quarters of worlds. And here's the real problem, Monty. When someone goes back in history, like me, but in 10 years, and they don't know the scene, they're like a new journalist who comes along, and they're trying to do esports history. They're going to pull up Gamepedia, Monty, and they're going to go, wow, look at this format. Look how many Asian teams were in here. Holy shit. NRG was in over, like, insert KT roster, T1. They must have actually been like a top team that year. This must be like one of those great runs of all time. And as you just said, all they would have done is, look, credit if you beat G2, but that isn't enough for quarterfinals of World Championship, mate. Not World Championship.
But here's the thing, they can lose
these BO1s. Winning BO1s over T1 and Madlines
No,
as well.
but they could lose to G2 and then just beat Fnatic, and that would be it. They would be in. That is just insanity.
The problem as well. This is also where people never realize it. It's not even just the individual draws. You're right, Monty. It's how they compound. The problem is, this is why it's the same in life, by the way. Small bad decisions lead to bigger bad decisions, lead to bigger ones. Like, that's why actually, like, it's about having a philosophy in life. So the problem here, like you say, is because Fnatic and because people like Team Liquid and Cloud9 all had scuffed roads, that's led to this point where now if two of them win, they get the Exodia shit draw that should never be able to exist. Well, I think some of these are criminal, mate.
Here's the thing. If you used a Buchholz system in Swiss, right, and you did strength of schedule, then NRG would have to play like the best remaining team because
that's not how it works, mate. No, because the problem with the Buchholz is that goes off stuff like it's more complicated than that.
It is slightly more complicated. It goes off
an internal logic. It's not off like the seeding as far as I know. Like, it depends on who. Yeah, it is off strength of schedule, but it's not as obvious. That it doesn't always work. Basically,
I mean, I think it would work. It would apply better to this situation, especially because
it'd be better than random. Yes. Here's the problem. I'll make a point to someone if you don't understand. This is why Meteos and Sneaky don't understand why an infinite number of monkeys with infinite typewriters and infinite time would eventually write everything, because they would produce every possible permutation, which is what random is, right? And the beauty of random is you can have the best possible thing, but you could also, by definition, have the worst possible pattern emerge from random because it contains all patterns ever. So actually, by definition, by having this format, you can have the worst ever seeding. And look, we're almost at that. I'm not even joking. And this is actually worse than I thought, because normally, right, you get like I said, it doesn't always have to compound. Like maybe in this match, okay, NRG gets this, but G2 wins. So it ends up not looking that bad because G2 could have made top 8 anyway. You know, that's not that bad. And they beat Damwon, right? That's okay. That fixes it. But as you say, the Fnatic Cloud9 one's the one that ruins it. That one as well is going to be the nightmare, because if that gets drawn, we've ruined the next round of the matches.
Yeah, and the thing is, because we also don't have double elimination, we're in a situation where a team like KT, who might legitimately be a top 4 team at this tournament, but not capable of beating LNG, right, gets into 3-2, then they draw JDG and just lose, right? And then that's it. And then we don't get, like, what happens if they draw Gen G and lose? Well, then we don't get a best of 5 between them and any of the Chinese teams. Sure, we get a best of 3 versus LNG, which I think that, KT are the underdogs for. But it's hard to justify this system with the way it is. And as you said, Thorin, this is not the danger. People don't understand. The danger zone is not what happens in the first couple of rounds. It's what happens in the 2-2 rounds, and then what happens in the draw, the quarter draw afterwards, where we're just going to get undoubtedly some pretty unsatisfying or disappointing quarterfinal matchups. And this would be, I guess, slightly better if it was double elimination, but even still, the system doesn't necessarily select for the best 8 teams. And people's logic on this is so fucking wacky, because I've seen comments like, well, it doesn't really matter if you don't get the top 8 teams, because if a team drops out of Swiss before the round of 8, then they weren't going to win the tournament anyway. And it's like, it's not just about who wins the tournament, guys. Like, I actually care about who is the 3rd and 4th best team in the world. I care about that. You may not. You may just care about who takes number 1. But I would rather have a double elimination system where I get discrete placements. 7, 8, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? I care about that. I want to see more and a variety of matchups and how team styles
like
interact.
I said, where if in 10 years you look at the bracket, like, the team that was 4th, probably they were top 4 in the world. That's what you want to believe, right?
Yeah.
By the way, another thing as well that's absolute nonsense about that logic is, think about what they're saying there, guys. That fan is everything I hate about modern sports fans. Here's what I despise about modern sports fans. NFL is what taught me this, Monty. Because in all the sports I was watching, NHL, NBA, it's a best of 7. You know what? Usually the better team wins, of course. Because the NFL is a best of 1, and you have injuries and 53 players on each team, right? And then stuff like, if you don't know, guys, in the NFL, essentially, it's worse than the NBA. Every single offensive lineman is making a foul every single time, and it's just if the refs decide, like, I'm going to give this one actually as holding. No, that's not holding. And the joke is, there's even a famous saying that coaches say in high school, like, hold, but don't get caught, because that's what being a lineman is, right? So basically, in a sport like that with a million variables, people act like it's a movie or an anime. I actually think this is what's corrupted their brains, by the way. And when they watch the anime, if the good guy wins, he was better. He was Goku. He actually deserved to win because when he did, they don't get what variance is. So basically, what they just said to you there, Monty, think about what I'm going to reformulate their statement. In a League of Legends tournament where we draft differently each game, including based on past information and other matches surrounding us to set the meta, someone losing some BO1s that were unfairly drawn in a Swiss system means 2 weeks later they could never win a best of 5. I've just changed every variable, every single variable: time, place, meta, format, drafting opponent. Like, it's mental. The level of variance, like that statement is so stupid. It's insane, because if you ever go back in history, by the way, if teams win that were like, they weren't even the best in their group, have won worlds. Like IG won when they lost to Fnatic in that decider in like season 8. So logically, if they came second, like if they'd lost one more BO1, they would never even have been in the playoffs, right? So then they would have never won worlds, would they? Like, what sort of counterfactual is that? It doesn't make sense. And so you've got to stop that. That's why, by the way, another thing about this format is, it's just obvious to me, with the amount of time that you have, you need to literally do something like take half the seeds or take the planes and make it a different tournament so that this can be best of 3 Swiss. Because there's another thing, mate. I can't handle that as well. Like, one of the teams we didn't even mention who got a hard draws. How about being BLG? Think about this, guys. There are some people who think spiritually BLG is the second best team in the world. They think LNG just got them in the playoffs by some big performances and some nice drafting, right? But actually, because BLG can only lose to JDG, still the case, they might be number 2 in the world. So you ready? I'll just run down in my mind what the seeding would be, because I'm going to seed for real, Like, I would essentially do, like, it'd be roughly like, 1 from Korea, 1 from LPL, 1 from LPL, 2 from LPL, 2 from LCK. I'll go like that, right, until like the top. And then maybe, let's say I took out Weibo and put G2 as my 8th seed, right? Here's how BLG's life was at this tournament. Congrats, you've drawn KT Roaster in the opening round, but that's impossible. I'm number 2 seed. And they're like, what, number 5 and number 6 seed? Sorry, you did. Sorry. So I drew them. Oh, that's weird. At the same time, like, people like Cloud9 was playing Mad Lions. Oh, don't worry, though. It'll get better in the next round. Next round, BLG, because you won against KT Roster, an opponent that you should never have been taken. Your reward, JDG, a team that might go down as the most unbeatable team in the history of League of Legends. But I lost to them. It's okay. We got the pick-me-up, though. We get you Fnatic. Right, finally. It's starting to even out again. Well, now I've got the Fnatic win. Let's get ready. And T1. So that's that, because I beat Fnatic. My prize, while Cloud9 plays Fnatic, by the way, is I'm going to go and I'm going to play T1, who in this logic, that would be number 2, BLG, if you believe they're number 2, against what? Number 5, number 6 in the world, T1. And then after that, by the way, say I lose that one. Am I ever allowed to lose to a low seed, by the way? Apparently not if I'm Asian. If I'm KT Roaster and BLG, I'm on nightmare mode here. Let's say I lose to T1. In the next round, I could just get LNG, KT Roaster, like, this is mental. Oh, and also, as you mentioned there, a difference between this Swiss and Counter-Strike, if you watch it, is in Counter-Strike, we don't ever let you play the same opponent again. So what we tell you is this, you know what? You drew KT and JDG BLG. But you know what? If BLG had lost, you don't have to get him again, though. You can't get him twice. Oh, no, don't worry. You could actually get BLG. You could, in theory, get JDG like 2 or 3 times in this tournament. That's how stupid this is. Luckily, that never happened, but that is possible if people don't know. So this whole thing, like you say, it's actually a great analogy. It's just a minefield. Look, because it's random, Monty, we might go through the minefield and survive and go, wow, but it doesn't mean there wasn't mines in there. And we might go through and might overload. And here's the real thing, to spin it onto like a conversation topic. Let's be real. This is why I had to make that point that I despise it, because I'm an elitist. But I knew Western fans would love this format.
Of course.
Because what the problem is, Monty, they're just doing this mistake where, because it has benefited the teams that they want to have a chance, they don't know that has to come at someone else's expense. It's a finite system. So every time Cloud9, NRG get the better draw, that means that KT and BLG get fucked in the ass. And for what reason? How did they deserve that? Because as you said, bring it back. Every fan doesn't go, well, it was a bad day, you know, Monty, and this team was actually a really good team like the Dallas Cowboys 3 years ago, but they had a bad playoff game. It didn't work out, you know. No, what you do instead is you just go like, well, if they were actually that good, then why didn't they get out of the Swiss? And then you forget all these matchups. No one in history will ever go, well, they played XYZ. No one will do that. Everyone will just look at the raw placing and go, you were at 9th place. You were actually worse than G2, for example.
Well, it just sets up. I know fans, like, for whatever reason, Western fans want a Western team to get through quarterfinals. But in the example that we gave, let's say NRG loses to G2, which they will almost certainly do, right? And let's say Fnatic beats Cloud9, and then NRG and Fnatic play, and NRG wins, and then they go through the quarterfinals. And then let's just say NRG gets lucky. They're not the 3-2 team that is drawn against Gen G and JDG. Then what we have to watch is, like, I don't know, LNG or KT play NRG in a best of 5. NRG gets completely shit stomped 3-0 in that scenario, and we just wasted a quarterfinal match. What was the point of that? What was the point of them getting through? Right? Even if they get the best possible draw, there isn't a chance for them to win the game. And so we all go home poorer because we had to watch a garbage best of 5.
It's like I say, the problem is the difference between a BO1 and a BO5 is so drastic that, like you say, even though the point would be NRG did have a chance in the BO1s as they showed, but they wouldn't have had a chance. I agree with you. In the BO5, they would get completely slaughtered. It'd be wasted time, everyone's time.
Yeah. And here's another thing, Thorin. We could see NRG G2 again in the quarterfinals. We could see a best of 3 now, and then a best of 5
because the 3
later on.
3-2. Yes, exactly.
And then G2, what? They get a free semifinal match, and then they get clobbered by an Eastern team, and then somebody just gets a free ticket to the finals. Like, you think you want these things, Western fans, but you don't. It's basically like the quick dopamine hit, and then just the fucking terrible come down, dude. It's like you did a hard drug, and then all of a sudden you're coming down the next day, and you have the worst hangover ever. You have the worst fucking headache. You're vomiting everywhere. And you think to yourself, was this worth it? Was it worth it? Just like for 5 minutes of fun?
By the way, this is where also people don't get it. You know, like, this is why the minefield analogy is a great one. The worst thing is Gen G and JDG both got through the minefield, so it looks like the format works, right? Everyone wanted Chovy and Knight, Gen G and the number 1 seeds on opposite sides, right? But remember, if one of them loses one BO1, it's over. They can be now drawn into the same match, never mind the same side. Well, think about, look who JDG got. It's only because they're unbeatable, by the way. The system didn't break. They were drawn against fucking BLG and LNG. You are, like, begging for them to lose this game there. That's all. Like, here's what I would say, right? Here's a scenario as a hypothetical fans. Imagine 2 scenarios. Imagine one, you wanted one of the number 1 seeds from the Asian region to not make it through 3-0. How would this draw look any different? Then imagine that you wanted, incredibly cynically, some shitter team like Team Liquid or NRG to have a chance. How would this draw look any better if you wanted to rig it? I propose you couldn't rig it any better, almost. Like, the NRG one especially is crazy.
The NRG one is really bad.
To me, how that one's gone. I know. It's
and it's not the most likely outcome that they face the winner of Cloud9 or Fnatic.
Yeah.
But
it's actually the least likely because it's only one. It's only one scenario, obviously. Yes, exactly. So luckily it's not. Hopefully, we now get some nice dice rolls. We don't go snake eyes, and we just get some decent ones on the way out, and it ends up. Because here's the thing. As we'll now start to talk about teams, look, I never had a problem with G2 going through. And quite frankly, how they've played, totally fine if they get through. Yeah, they actually look like they can do maybe do some damage. Like, if they're the 8th team, Monty, at least they have a crack in a BO5. Like, as you're saying, if they go through now, maybe they get drawn against, like, it could be like a BLG and LNG. That'd be like an all right match for a couple of games potentially. That could be spicy. Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah, this whole thing has been disappointing, and, like, I know people are just justifying their fandom of the Western teams people used to justify the round robin
system. Like, they'll just make it. They reverse engineer the opinion.
Yeah, they're reverse engineering this really hard.
I've got one other point I have to make, because this is where I realized this is why we can't have nice things. It's when even famous people complained about 2 teams from the same region being drawn against each other. You never got it. 2023, season 13, 10, 11 world championships, and you still don't understand that by definition, to make them avoid each other means that, like, for example, like suddenly the top teams can't even play proper opposition because you'd have to keep making them awkwardly not meet each other. So the whole point of the Swiss is because you can play anyone. Of course, you can play someone from your region. Now, look, I would get it if it was this, Monty. Say you had some nightmare draw where, like, C9 literally did just only play Team Liquid, NRG, and then, like, you know, a European team. That'd be one thing. This is just one BO1. People were complaining because, like, BLG plays a BO1 against JDG. Like, I'm going to explain this one time to you if you're a League of Legends fan. This is the World Championship, not fucking wrestling. If you are in CSGO, they don't go, bloody European teams being drawn against another European team in the ground. It's the World Championship. Once you're there, everyone plays everyone. If it's in fucking Dota, you don't go, well, on the bracket, you shouldn't be able to play someone from the same. No, of course that makes it. Once you've qualified, you're just teams in the tournament. Here's the thing. I only vaguely understood it on the Riot side when you were the group because you knew you were only going to play 3 opponents. Then it vaguely made sense. You don't always just play it international. Then you can play anyone, so you have to allow it like that. You're actually complaining about an old problem in the format, guys, and that doesn't make sense. Like, you don't want that back. You do not want Riot to make it so you cannot play the same region. It would be so silly.
It's also the fact, Thorin, that we have, you know, I really enjoyed the play-ins tournament, and so did everybody else, it seems, and we didn't have best of ones. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have best of ones in play-ins. Why do we have best of ones now? I thought, can we just take best of ones out behind the shed and shoot it, please?
Dude, think about this. In LEC, we only ever had BO1s in that fucking first 2 weeks, Monty.
Which is fine.
We had like 6 weeks, you know, of the whole year. Like, even our groups was BO3 and there was playoffs. Again, I agree with you. Why did they do this? I don't get it. Why did they start? Well, we know the reason why, but I'll pretend rhetorically that I don't know. Why do we build the best formats at the bottom of the system? And then at the top, where it's all the best matches, why are we making the least sturdy formats? Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense, does it? Because as we've said a million times, we can accept single elim. If you make this part really sturdy, then I'll accept it. Otherwise, make this shit, but then double elim. But then they're like, how about worst of both worlds? How about not? How about not, Riot? How about not?
I just don't get it, man. Like, why do I have to watch 2 best of 3s of Detonation Focus Me, but I only get to watch 1 best of 3 of JDG and Genji? Why is that? Why is God punishing me like this?
Riot's got us checkmated on this one, mate, because here's why we can't win. One, they've never actually look, they've seen it at MSI, but at Worlds they've never seen a better format than this, so they have to say it's the best. And you know what's the worst thing, Monty? It is the best. And you know why? Because it's classic Riot. Because they made it so shit before that this is the thing about Riot. The reason people think they invented esports is because it's like they made their esports so bad in every regard that just to make it all right was like, holy shit, they've improved this a lot, haven't they? And then, like, they get credit for stuff like they should already do. This is like basically if I made my room 10 times messier as a kid, then my mum was like, clean it up, and I cleaned it halfway up, and I was like, oh, I did shit. Nah, you cleaned it a bit then. So I was supposed to clean the fucking room. You don't get bonus points for doing half of it because he made it even worse. Like, that's what Riot does every fucking tournament, mate. And as I said earlier, just remember this, guys. When the draw ends up, however scuffed it's going to be, and there's going to be at least one team will get an unfair draw. It's just obvious at this point in time. Because remember, like I said, you could even have like BLG versus JDG the first round as well, by the way. Like, when this happens, just remember, we had MSI. We already know what an awesome fucking tournament looks like. That is, I'll give Riot full credit for that one. In fact, you know what? In that analogy, Monty, that is where they cleaned their room. I told you that was the best League of Legends international tournament ever, in my opinion. Like, I think that was even better than IPL 5. You know, because we're in the modern day, we're like real teams, BO5s. Like, that is the best tournament ever. Props to Riot. What I don't get is, bloody, just share the wealth. Put that in the worlds as well. Because here's the other thing. Right now, if you don't know, TI's going on, if people don't know. The reason TI murks League of Legends every year is because of their format. They have the IPL 5 format, if people don't know. So why Riot? If you take that format for yourself, you look, Dota fan won't like it, but to us, like purists who are just looking at the esport, you win. You have the biggest one, most fans, all the regions, by the way. That's the thing I always give Riot credit for, Monty, for years now. They're the only game that has every major region activated, trying to play at the same time. It's not like Dota. Well, you know, the Koreans don't really play it. You know, like, oh, what about this? Well, NA is not really that big in CSGO right now. You know, you don't have that. In this game, there's no excuses, but the format is what makes the excuses. That's what's sad. And as you said, I don't mind people cheering. Like, if I'm a fan of Fnatic, right? Of course, I love this draw. This was my dream. I could never have wished for better. Same for C9. But the issue here is, don't then frame it as this is a great draw for the tournament and the format is great. That's not true. Come on, just admit your bias. Like, I'm admitting my bias. Like, I don't want any of these top teams to have the bad variance and play each other. There, I've admitted it. There we go. We'll move on.
What a disgusting bias you have, Thorin. What an absolute revolting bias.
I'll give you an example of why though, Monty. Because here's the thing. It's the same concept I said before. When you have a finite amount of success, credit, favor to give someone, that means by definition, someone else had it taken away from them, right? So here's what kills me inside. When I see that like Team Liquid finished last, but they shouldn't have because they had to play GAM. They were given a BO3 against GAM and they could have come second to last at a main event. You ready? Get that historian that's 10 years from now, Monty. He's looking up on Gamepedia. Oh my goodness, Team Liquid was better than top esports with Jackie Love and Rookie, because I saw those things where Jackie Love's at the tournament or whatever. Oh no, Rookie because he's Korean's at the tournament. Imagine being Rookie. You're sat in Korea. You played awesome this year. Dickhead's already. No, he didn't qualify. He was still really good. You utter idiot. He was even getting all pro. He's mega, right? He sat there in Korea. I played him one of these one time. I wonder how APA will do against whoever the fuck plays mid lane for GAM esports. This is a thrilling game. I wish I was as good as them. And then I'll tell you what's the cherry on the top of the shit sandwich, Monty. Where Riot can't just do this. They must gaslight you like some fucking insane gulag scenario. What did they say? Did you see that tweet I like roasted on Twitter? When they announced the main event, Monty, they did the thing I can't handle. They said these are the top 16 teams in the world.
Oh, no.
Isn't that for real? On LOL Esports Twitter, these are the top 16. Not even, these are 16 of the best, which is what you do. These are the top 16 in the world. So, by the way, if you play for, like I said, EDG, or hey, Ale, you're shit, mate. You're nowhere near the level of fucking Dorkler. Hey, all right, Rookie. Tell you what, get on APA's level, will you, motherfucker? Oh, what's that? Zika from Hanover Life, reigning world champion. Tell you what, you might want to go and join Team Liquid. That's it. Give me a break. You know what I mean? It's a fucking joke, isn't it? They just ruined all the narratives.
You know,
I should look at it the other way. This is why I should use like fucking disaster capitalism logic, Monty. Really, this shit chaos means that we are the only ones who can like navigate through it and explain what actually happened. So essentially, we become essential. We're like the navigation. We're the fucking guild in like Dune, using the spice of actual real esports. We can navigate through all the fucking minefields of the galaxy while everyone else just has to go at normal speed. I know. We should spin it this way. It's a good thing. It's a good thing it happened.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have work, so I guess it's okay.
No, exactly. And also, that's along similar lines, shout out to all the dog shit Western analysts who still insist, like Aziel, of going, great format, this is brilliant. I saw him do a tweet the other day that killed me inside, bro. He even tweeted when that match was going on of like an all Western one. He was like, he said something like, NA's never won a best of 3 I've ever cast against like Europe or something. It's like, just in every tournament. But I told you before, he has mastered his craft, mate. He knows how media works. He hypes them ironically. You know this. You know my boy Wax Angel. Remember him? Oh, don't worry. He's the one who infected Theon. That's a cult there. That's a cult lineage, by the way. They do that thing where you start with snark so you can shit. This is like some bullshit, like hipster shit, by the way. So you can protect your feelings in case actually someone goes, that's just stupid what you said. You go, I was just being sarcastic. I was just memeing on them. But then if they win, you go, I meant it actually. Oh, yeah. I'm the biggest fan of TL. TL, baby, yeah. Like that's what like the joke is, everyone now's dunking on TL, right? Everyone's saying they're shit money, shouldn't even have been at the tournament. But I'll tell you what, when they like almost won against T1, woo, bit of a different vibe there, wasn't it? People were doing the Mexican way, baby. Yo, shit, yo, give me a break. Like they were loving that shit. No, they were loving all the Western teams there. By the way, there's one thing we should start actually talk about. Let's be real. Aside from this format shenanigans, props to G2. What the fuck has the rest of the West been doing right now? This is terrible. You guys are actually, it's only the format giving you a chance.
Back to Azael's tweet. I did have a chuckle because he said something like, I've been casting League of Legends for 8 years and I've never cast an international best of win for an A right before he casted the TL versus GAM match. And then GAM won.
And then GAM won.
I did laugh. I did laugh.
Monty, I'm gonna tell you this because I'm just gonna throw this out there. I love banter, but I'm so sick. This is the thing that if people don't know, triggers Richard a lot. It's not that there are like weird rules and we all have to follow them. It's that the rules are literally just today, not even yesterday. You can get cancelled for yesterday's shit. Today's American cultural norms, everyone in the world must know them today and follow them, otherwise they're fucked. But as a result, if an American doesn't know the cultural norms of the rest of the world, no problem. because America runs the game. So did you see the sign, Monty, that took place during the Team Liquid versus GAM game?
Yeah, I did see that.
The sign, it's funny, but are you ready? There's a sign that said, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." I think it was shown on camera.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it was actually shown on the stream, but I saw a screenshot of it. Now, here's the thing. If we're going pure old, the old school internet, that's like 4chan posting it. Like, yeah, that's banter. Like, it's edgy, but it's banter. Imagine the same sign, guys. A fan of Vietnam would say something like, "Your twin towers will fall in this game," and then a picture of 9/11. You know what I mean? Like,
we won in the 70s.
We sent your boys home in body bags, last helicopter out of Vietnam. You know what I mean? Like, this would be outrageous.
I think it's all in bad taste.
Guys, don't go that far. Don't go that far. Come on, boys.
Yeah, I think for an esports event, like that was in poor taste overall. But I do see your point about
not mention any more crimes. You know what I mean? Let's just keep war crimes off the menu in general.
No war crimes at esports events.
The only war crimes are the format that Riot uses. There you
go. Unless you're part of a Saudi Arabian owned org. Don't look up Yemen, guys. Don't look up Yemen.
What are you talking about? Here's the thing, Monty. It's like I say in CSGO. There's no Yemen because there's too many yes men. There you go. There's the line for you right there. There's the line. Put that one in the bag.
I did think that was in poor taste, for sure. And like the Team Liquid, look, the Team Liquid match I think is wild. Now I called, by the way, that Team Liquid was in fact the worst team at this tournament. I said GAM was a better team. We actually got to see the head-to-head. GAM fucking won. And the thing about Team Liquid is everybody got all hyped up on the Hopium because they had a very strong early game against Team Liquid. The thing you saw, guys, was the absolute ceiling of Team Liquid's play, also against a T1 team that is much worse than people think they are.
Dude, they fucking ended like minute 3 of the game with that top guy that just gave a free tower kill to somebody who did nothing. Like the game couldn't have started better. They were like gifted the dream start, weren't they?
Yeah. So what I'm saying, guys, is you both. You saw what was the apex of T1's capabilities. Now, don't get me wrong. Pyosik had a banger game. I mean, some of his Lee Sin outplays were great in that game. So I'm not trying to take things away. But at the end of the day, you still have Yon and APA. And counting on them to not make a mistake throughout the entire game is too much to ask from this roster. And even a scuffed iteration of T1 is still going to be able to punish your carries if you miss position. And so that's what happened. And after I saw that game, I was like, there's no way that Team Liquid maintains this form throughout the entire event. And we saw the kind of the ugly side of that, which is that when they played against GAM, they decided to, really underperform in many ways. And there was an interview.
Here's what's crazy about them coming last, dude. The format gave them the best chance. Look at who, by the way, the difference between BDS last place opponents and then Team Liquid. Okay, Team Liquid played T1. Then they got NRG into GAM. Like, it's like Riot is begging you to win a game. They're saying, like, look, is there any way I could get you to win a game? Well, I mean, give me like an opponent from our region. All right, here's NRG. I couldn't beat them. Shit. I'll tell you what about GAM? They haven't even played at fucking Worlds in about 10 years. Oh, yeah. Oh, I've lost to them too. Meanwhile, if you BDS, it's like, unless you beat Mad Lions, like JDG and DPlus. Like, what's the odds? So you also, that's why, no joke, Monty, this is one of the worst Western performances ever for Team Liquid. It really is. Yeah. In context.
And, I saw an interview from Pyosik where he implied that like the third game draft went the way it did because of APA's champion pool. And like, if he can't play Nico and he can't play Ziggs, then they are really limited and they couldn't risk like a second round of bans targeting the mid lane. Yeah. But, honestly, I think it's a mistake when Pyosik genuinely played very well throughout the course of this tournament. He certainly overperformed. And when you see that game on Kindred where he absolutely dominated, at a certain point, I would rather just take peak carry Pyosik than like kind of shitty floor APA. Yes. You know what I mean? I kind of would rather just see APA scrape by on maybe a champion he's not that comfortable with, because I don't think APA being mid to bad on a champion he's comfortable on is worth the sacrifice of Pyosik maybe being able to carry the game. So I think
also the main problem I had as well was the only real hope I ever had for winning games here. The only lane you were going to win through was top, and unfortunately, Summit just, you saw the good and the bad. He had like half of a good game against T1, then it didn't turn into anything, because spoiler, he's sort of like the meme of what people tell me how far he is. Like, he just plays in lane and then there's nothing else, is there? Like, but after that, what a waste of a tournament, just playing Cassandra all the time, doing nothing. And then you even had the fucking Jax game at the end. That was just shit. That was garbage. Like, so unfortunately, like, this is sad, especially because if people don't know, a couple of years ago, Summit and Keen used to be in that same boat where they were like both on like good teams, but they wouldn't go to Worlds. It was like, oh, they're so good individually. He's just wasted his potential, mate. He is a good player. Like, he clearly has strong hands, but there's something about his style just hasn't worked, mate, the last couple of years.
I mean, he just has no map awareness, and he has no macro sense, and he's a top laner from a different era. Thorin is what he is.
Yeah,
he's the fucking
Ignite, like Flame from back in the days.
He's the Ignite motherfucker up in that top lane before teams realize how to use teleport. Yes. And, in a different era, I think Summit would be amazing. But in this era, you have to have some level of macro sense. And apparently, even, maybe on Cloud9, there was some sort of language issue or there wasn't good shot calling. But historically, like, are you going to tell me that the combo of Core JJ and Pioshik, two literal world champions who, mean, Core JJ has macroed Team Liquid successfully over the course of his career. That is something that has happened. So are you going to tell me that they can't tell Summit when to TP? Like, in what team, like at this point in time, in what team would Summit be good?
The whole meme context was that they're all Korean. He can't even blame that, at least if it was all American, like Cloud9 or whatever, there's only Berserker. Yeah, that's cool. But like, no, you made the whole main team that they're all speaking Korean except APA. And so, yeah, we know that he understands Core JJ. The problem is he isn't Looper and he doesn't obey Matt's command and just summon him out of the fucking nowhere with the teleport to Seattle. So you know what? Fair play to Looper nowadays. As the years go on, the more I sort of appreciate his moxie. He actually understood how top lanes played, mate. Fair play to you.
He also got the bag,
Did, yeah.
he was a successful bag thief in the end. And also, wasn't he on Echo Fox for a little bit?
Oh, yeah, he was. I forgot with like Frog. Yeah. By the way, a quick aside, because I'm just going to say this now. Next year, if people don't know, I think sometime in like February will be the 10th anniversary of Summoning Insight, right? So I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to do a special episode. And cause this is so perfect, bro, it's probably going to be the case that TSM will have officially sold by then and TSM won't be in the LCS. We'll definitely start it like an RIP Bozo pack watch with cigars, celebrating we outlasted TSM. And by the way, as Dom said, it is amazing now that they didn't get the FTX money, which everyone bragged about, and they had to sell, they give like 6 million to Sorda, and then now they sell for 10. It's like, that's so fucking insanely perfect. So we'll come back to that. But yeah, don't worry, we're going to get that in the future. We're going to get that. Don't worry, it's all good. That's funny. By the way, that's already gangsters. If no one else knows, there's no other podcast even close to that. 10 years. There's no one else even close to that, mate. Even the all-time greats, live on 3, I would guess that's like, 5 years or something, No
Max.
One's on 10 years. We've beaten everyone.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, this is easily the most watched podcast in the history of esports, and it's not by a close margin either. It's not by a close margin.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? In the end, if you average it out now, Monty, look, the average was bad in the first year, but like anything, like I've got my scoring average up, and so the career average is fine. So like the actual average amount of times potentially getting cancelled each year because of the show now is pretty reasonable for the 10 years. It was looking really bad those first couple of years. Now it's sort of evened out. It's not that bad. It's 3 or 4, not bad. Yeah, not bad. I mean,
some might say we were canceled by Riot in the end. Some might say.
True.
I think the existence of this show probably led to very bad feelings at Riot. I think maybe if this show didn't exist with all our criticism of Riot, perhaps we would be in better graces in the end. But would I trade this for anything? I would not. Whoa. And by the way, guys, if you would like to support Last Free Nation as independent talent owned, where we can actually say whatever the hell we want and we don't have to toe the developer line on anything that we ever do, you should support our sponsors. And coming back this week, Liquid IV. That's right. Liquid IV. I brought a whole bag full of this to Korea with me. I've been loving it for my workouts. But as I said earlier, guys, you may have been loving this Swiss system. You may have gotten the biggest dose of dopamine ever when NRG somehow makes it into the quarterfinals? Well, as I said, sometimes the next day after you go hard can be a little bit difficult, but if you take a liquid IV before you go to bed, rehydrate yourself, or the next morning when you wake up, it can be a lot easier. And if you're up late at night, just getting those electrolytes and vitamins back in your system can really, really help. If you're on an airplane for a long amount of time, those things are very dry. If you live in an arid climate, like I'm going to go back to Colorado eventually, there's like 0% humidity there. So you lose water a lot faster out of your system.
If you work out, obvious one.
Yeah, if you work out.
If you get hungover, if you have a cold, all million angles for it.
Yep, exactly. And there's now sugar-free versions as well. So they have the caffeinated versions, they have the sugar-free versions, they have the sugar versions.
It's not all just electrolytes. They have an energy one as well. There's one that actually gives the electrolytes, and in it, it's like a half energy drink sort of. Yeah.
I take the caffeine one right before I work out to give me a little bit. It's like a pre-workout, basically. Like you get the sugar in there, which you're going to burn immediately if you're doing a lot of movement.
Yes.
Helps power you through alongside the caffeine. So if you take a pre-workout, this is a good one. They've got new flavors like white peach, green grape, lemon, lime. So it does help us if you support us through our sponsors. You can get your Liquid IV Hydration Multiplier sugar-free in bulk nationwide at Costco, or 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code LFN at checkout. It's 20% off your entire order. I know a lot of you guys have been trying this. I think it's great. It really is an awesome product, and I continue to use it very frequently myself. So endorsed.
By the way, you're not just supporting me and Monty. Every single person who is a regular creator on LFN Network has equity in our company. So actually, you're also supporting Dagon and Dom and people
Bowery.
from CSGO, loads of people, Kassad, all of these people. That's the whole point of this company, is we all have equity.
Yep, we're pulling together, guys, and so your support really actually does make a difference. Unlike you get maybe skip a skin from Riot Games or Counter-Strike and give our sponsors a try, and hopefully you'll like some of these products.
Monty, when we launched this company, the dumbest people on the internet decided, this was one of the worst angles I've ever heard. Because we called it Last Free Nation, they went, sounds a bit like sort of a right-wing sort of like militia or something. Like, I don't know why in any concept. By the way, the idea that your nation would be free is like an evil right-wing idea now. That's sort of a bit telling already.
It's not called last authoritarian nation, guys.
But here's the thing I can't handle, Monty. Those people were people from League of Legends. The name of the company that made the game is Riot Games. Riot Games. What is that? Put your fucking withering gaze onto that name and tell me what that sounds like. Does that sound sus? Riot Games? That sounds like they come in with truncheons and beat the fuck. Oh, wait a second. Actually, metaphorically, they do. My bad.
All I'm going to say is when I tried to riot against Riot, they came in with the metaphorical, tear gas
big
on
red
me.
Fist. They give you the big red fist, Monty. Exactly. Like, the joke is you couldn't have any more symbology and stuff in theirs to sound like you are an autocratic totalitarian regime from the east. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's a red fist. It's even red. It's even the color scheme, bro. As usual, they're like, doesn't look like anything to me. Last Free Nation. Is this the alt-right? Why is this like? I don't know. Why is this like? And also, spoiler, me and Monty aren't politically active. We're fucking nerds who spent 10 plus years watching shit of video games.
Yeah.
Going, I think we're getting mad, not about politics. We're getting mad about Lulu. It should be fucking, that should be the Jada pick there.
Also, tell me who loves free speech more than Thorin and Richard Lewis, by the way. Actual award-winning journalists. It's so funny. Anyway.
All good anyway. It's all good.
the irony is not lost on us.
Some teams.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about the implications of Team Liquid's loss? Because I also get schadenfreude from watching Travis Gafford's YouTube channel, and immediately after Team Liquid lost, he posted this very sad video about Team Liquid and the embarrassment of losing to VCS. But here's the thing, guys. I'm going to tell you this right now, NA fans. I don't have good news for you. This shit is only going to get worse for you. And here's why. Yes. Right now, the LCS teams are all of them going to the players and saying, here's a choice: accept a new contract at a lower rate, or we're cutting your contract and you're a free agent. So this offseason, if players do not accept new contracts that are significantly lower, as more teams try to basically pay league minimum or maybe slightly above that, probably in the 70 to 100,000 range to a player, as opposed to the fucking $2 million Bjergsen contracts that were given out previously. Many players were at 600K, just ridiculous sums, right? So what you're going to see, remember Team Liquid. Let's think about them. Who was the best performing player at Worlds? Oh, that's right, Pyosik. Do you think Piosik's going to come back for a cut contract?
He's going to be an LCK, definitely. Even like, no joke. I think after this Worlds, by the way, Monty, he'll take like a lower LCK team, even maybe like he might go to like the 8th. But yeah, he might be on like fucking like what do you think at this point in time? Hanwha's a real choice. You know what? There's some real teams out there he might join. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's I'm going to spell it out for you guys. Team Liquid without Pyosik would have been a much worse team at Worlds, and they were already, spoiler, the worst team. And they weren't even the 4th seed from NA. They were the 3rd seed. The 4th seed of NA got bodied by, wait for it, the other worst team, BDS. Holy shit. They got bodied by the other worst team. How bad was Golden Guardians? Just 2-0'd, 3, BDS was 3-0'd, and the BDS themselves, now they did have a tough draw versus DPlus, it must be said, but I don't think they would have won against many of the other teams that were in there.
Seemed like it.
So what I'm saying, guys, is like, this is the end of like the high paid import era. We might see 1 or 2 teams, splash out a little bit, but these contracts that were luring players to NA, and like it or not, guys, these were the players that, were propping up this region.
I just said it. Korjij, they had a reigning world champion.
LCK, by the way.
JDG, these are players you can't make up for with the NA play. You know what's sad about this? I'll tell you the team that's making everyone not realise it, Monty. It's NRG. Because what they're doing is, this is where fans never know how to characterise a team. NRG doesn't win off player strength. They win off being actually like a team that works together. And actually, I'll give them props. It's very rare NA teams have half-decent late-game macro and know what to do and catch a throw. Mad props to them for that. I actually, by the way, the reason I don't cheer for them is because I know they can't win a BO5 against anyone. I actually do like the fact that they are the ultimate plucky underdogs. They are a bunch of like castaway NA players minus FBI. And then basically, they manage to somehow play proper League of Legends and win and be more than the sum of their parts. Since most Western teams are scuffed, you need those killer Korean mechanics. You need like a really sick European import. Because I saw people who tried to take the logic that TL's performance means that NA was wrong to ever do the import route. Right, go back in time, guys, and take all the Jensen lineups and put Golden Glue in instead. Do they go as far? Do they get the upsets? They don't. You know what I mean? There's no MSI final. There's no top 4 at Worlds. There's no like beat a big team. Oh my God, there's no like CLG beating up. Give me a break. It doesn't happen. These results don't happen. So, like you're saying, basically, look at the lineups of teams like TSM and Evil Geniuses. That's going to be your Worlds teams next. Those lineups are what's going to go to Worlds next time, boss. So, and add in this, Monty. I'll tie it into the original conversation. Imagine you ever get a draw, even if it's random, where it goes like I want it, like almost perfect seeding. Now you never had a chance to get out. Now the actual 0-2 game is the one that you're trying to hopefully watch as an NA fan, because it's the only game they can win. It's the only time they can win is maybe like, 4th seed Europe plays 3rd seed NA in the last place game, and maybe that one they can win. That's it. So I agree. When you know how bad it's going to get for LCS, it's why, again, I'll loop it back in again to the other bigger topic of this year. It's why the pro players and fans could not have picked a worse time to try and destroy the LCS from inside the house. Like, it was the dumbest time ever, because you're going to love next year whenever, that money you wanted for their teams in the low league, that's not even in the fucking top leagues now. I can't wait, by the way. They don't get this. When they used to do the average salary, and yeah, it got obviously it was dragged up by the millions of Bjergsen and stuff, but the average salary was like, what, it's like 400k or 300k, wasn't it, right, Monty? I bet the average salary for real, bear in mind the minimum's what, 100k. I bet the average salary will be like 150k now.
The minimum's like 60, the minimum's like 60, 65, I think, somewhere.
And maybe 100k is the new average salary, which, by the way, it was less than academy players used to make. So this is going to get what, like, the joke is Sven in academy will be like the equivalent of like 3rd seed from NA, like mid laner or something next year.
Yeah. So there's going to be a bunch of players at like league minimum at 75. There's going to be a bunch of
everyone's
players.
Going to leave.
Yeah, there's going to be, and people are going to leave or retire. Like, you think Doublelift is going to come back when he could co-stream to play for $150,000? No.
There's only one factor there. To be fair, I'll give credit. He'll do whatever Lady Macbeth tells him to do. So it depends what she's feeling like on that day. I'm just saying.
So
let's be real, Monty. In some ways, she's the chief revenue officer of Sentinels and Double Lifting.
Double Lifting's been doing pretty well, though. Double Lifting's been printing money for a long time.
He has been making money. It's true. He's killing it. Yeah.
So what I'm saying, guys, is like you're going to see a wave of retirements. You're going to see probably only like up and coming international talent. Maybe there's a few people that want to like chill and stick around. Perhaps Core JJ just like wants to live this life.
Maybe he likes to live in America and have the green card and all that. Yeah, true.
Yeah, exactly. Because he might want to, I don't know, not go to the military. That's a popular option for people. So you might see some of this. I would love to see Core JJ go back to the LCK, but somehow I don't think that's going to happen. So the point is, it's going to get even worse, guys. And so, but here's the thing. It's going to be immediately worse. But honestly, I'm not sure in the end that this is actually a bad thing, because look at what happened with VCS. They were forced to kind of have scrappy homegrown talent, and over a long enough timeline, they were actually, through sheer force of will, even though they had tons of roadblocks thrown in their way, the whole COVID shit, that lockdowns that happened in Vietnam, the fact that they couldn't play on the Korean server to practice anymore, and they were relegated to their own server, and yet they were still better than Team Liquid at the end of the day. And I am hoping that on a long enough timeline, that if you ignore all the players who basically came to NA to, as you Zoomers call it, quiet quit in North America, where they just got the bag and sat there, put their feet up on the sofa and just chilled in Los Angeles. If we have lower salaries, because we've seen this in other esports, you do not need high salaries to have great competition, because real competitors are just so psychotic that they're going to dedicate themselves to it.
The joke is, Monty, you're going to love this, because I've just realized this. And when you realize this, you're going to love it. You remember the famous study we have cited 1 million times about motivation related to income? The magic number was $60,000 in the study. That above 60,000, it doesn't motivate you more to compete and play and do your job better. And so the same thing, I agree. Essentially, if you are like, pick an all-time great player, you'd have killed yourself for the 60K like you would for 2.5 billion. Now a fan's going to go, no, that's because you aren't him. You ain't, as you Zoomers say, you ain't him. You aren't the man. You don't know what you're talking about. So no. And by the way, I'll make it specific because we're talking about him right now. Team Liquid, everyone's memed on them these last 2 years. They were your best hope for imports. I've always given Steve Arhansek crazy mad respect for every year, whether he did the right construction. He does get big names every year. He goes and gets you a world champion. He goes and gets you a massive Korean player. He goes and gets you the best European who could stay and qualify for Worlds from Europe. No, that's going away. And now he is going to have to choose, right? Do I want revenge and speaker, or do I, these are the choices that we're now making. Like that's the best case scenario. So yeah, I think it's going to get really dark, mate. It's going to be dark for NA.
It's going to be dark in the next year or two, but my hope is that on a long enough timeline, we actually do see some really, good dedication to scouting and coaching that will raise.
I'll tell you the number one thing they should do. The number one thing they should do is obvious, Monty. Still import, but now you have to get the ERL player. You have to scout the ERLs, and you have to find the El Yoya before he joins the Mad Lions, when he's still an ERL player. If you can do that, you have a chance. It won't be the same as having the elite Korean, but it'll be closer. And the point here is, money-wise, you might make it work. Maybe there is an ERL player like Takui who'll play for 100K in the LCS,
Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. Money never changed North America's competitiveness. It never did. Like, North America is just the same amount of competitive it was 10 years ago, effectively, as it is today. So
let's
go back to no money.
The legendary Dutch player and manager Johan Cruyff in soccer, European football, famously, because he was like a genius for setting up teams and tactics and stuff, he had a saying, which is, I've never seen a bag of money score a goal. NA proved that in League of Legends, because at the end of the day, the biggest joke of all is some of the imports that ended up being mega weren't even the ones that were good in Korea. They were actually like the guys where it was like a failure, or like a weird European pickup no one thought was good. Like it's not like certain other sports where, like in the NBA, for example, the payroll you almost can't finish below a certain amount if you have the highest payroll. League of Legends isn't that game, mate. It ain't that game.
Yeah, and we know that because we saw teams that didn't have big salaries win the world championship back in the day or do very well, be competitive at the top level of competition, even though teams in China, in 2015 were getting the absolute fucking bag. Like Rox Tigers, Ku Tigers still were better than them, and they were fucking broke, like actually broke.
Like they could have been like 2-time world champions. That was on the table. Yeah.
In 2015, the Tigers were so broke, they couldn't afford electricity for air conditioning for their apartment. And so they just had to be hot. And they were in first place.
Okay.
They were in first place in the LCK.
Okay.
So there's always going to be some mega grinders, right? And a lot of European players who have been at their peak have turned down the bag. Fakers turned down the bag.
Meanwhile, Faker's in like that T1 building where he's on like the complex at like the penthouse level. He's like, adjust the temperature 0.1%. I think I entered that scrim because the air conditioning was whatever talk. That's who they were competing against, Monty. It was literally, if you made the Rox Tigers into a movie, they're like the plucky underdogs, and T1's like that rich kid where the dad buys everyone pizza but then fucks everyone's mom on the side and is a total prick to you all. Like that's like the fucking 80s movie that we were in when it was going on, and the bad guy won every time.
Yeah, but if Faker could be even richer, man. Like that's the thing. He could have taken the China money at his peak.
Oh, mate, there's one. Let's just do it. Let's just do it right now. One, I'm going to slightly call out everyone in the West on this one, and I'm going to do it on two levels. So one, people did take the whole JDG's the best, but because it was an ADC meta, Ruler carries the fights. Because they've given all the praise to Ruler. Dude, this broadcast might be one of the worst I've ever seen. Right now, Knight is really not only potentially the best mid laner in the world, he might be like, he's going to be a contender for best of all time when he retires, quite frankly. I think if you look at the body of work, he might win Worlds now, he might win it at the Grand Slam. Bro, you wouldn't know Knight exists if you listen to the Western broadcast. When they talk, you listen to them talk about Faker on T1, you would think he is Knight, mate. You would think he's the one going for the Grand Slam. When they talk about Knight, it's almost like he's just a whatever, and then it's just like, fucking Ruler does everything on that team, or 369 does everything. Like, bro, hasn't anybody watching these games? Knight is a fucking monster, mate. He's unbelievable. Like, even on those shit, like we said, even when it's a meta where you don't even play the mechanical champions, his champion looks better than anyone else's without hands. It's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I think 369 has probably had the best overall performance thus far at Worlds, but Ruler was kind of not even there in the game against LNG. Yeah,
they didn't need him.
Yeah, they didn't need him, but he also just it's not that he did anything particularly bad, I think, but he just wasn't the star of the show in the LNG matchup.
He sometimes greeds, mate. He does sometimes greed in lane. We have to be honest. He's not perfect in Team Whites. He's a god. He sometimes greeds in lane early though.
Yeah,
lets the gank happen, when you don't need to.
And the other thing is, to your point, I think 369 and Knight have been really standout. We also got to see a pretty banging Vex game from Knight. He's pulling out some unique champions as well.
Oh, think about that for a second. This is a guy, by the way, he's infamous for his champion pool. I don't know why it's a fucking Chinese team doing this, but the idea you ban out all of mid lane. When you ban out mid lane against Knight, all you do is ban your mid laner out. He is known for having one of the deepest champion pools ever, year on year on year. And as you saw there, bro, you're not going to see another mid-Vex in this tournament. But I tell you what, the fucking joke is he really did leave the other team vexed, didn't he? Fucking wrecked him. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so I think he's doing great. Knight is obviously, that's the scary thing about JDG, is that there's just so many weapons on this roster, and it just feels like they are almost fated to win. They go to the brink so many times. 3 times in a row they went to the deciding game against LNG, and they win every single time. Like, LNG runs out of gas. You can tell, and I think what's fun about seeing this matchup so much is that you see LNG try different things every single time. It's like, is this the combination that opens the lock? Is this the final piece of the puzzle in our draft that is going to actually result in a victory? I mean, they tried in this best of 3 what they tried in the first best of 5 in LPL playoffs, which is, can we hard carry through top lane? Can we pick a split pusher and try and win the game? Because you know what? LNG has lost complete faith in themselves that they are able to win a 5v5 team fight versus JDG. They have given up on front-to-back team fighting. They have decided it is impossible to beat JDG in this fashion, and that the only way...
Obvious reason why. They've probably played a million scrims and lost them on the team fights, I imagine, So fights a guess. It's obvious, isn't it?
You have to be proactive early. You have to rack up a couple of kills, and then you have to provide cross-map pressure. The thing is that JDG they're the honeypot, man. Like, they're the flame bringing in the moth. You always have to team fight them. You get mind gamed into team fighting them at some point in time. And unless you have a massive lead, I mean, they can play from huge deficits. It's really fun to watch, but they are terrifying. And I think you need a very strong like pick composition in order to defeat them. And the other thing is they're absorbing bans that are ridiculous. Like LNG has now decided that Ornn is the biggest threat, right? 369, which look, 369 is probably the best Ornn player in the world. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But you're so afraid.
Not the champion in this
you're so afraid of the 5v5. And the thing, and here's the reason why you're afraid. Because you can't put his fucking Ornn behind. And the craziest thing about 369, if you watched LPL this year, how many times did we see him on Ornn just get solo kills? And then it's like, great, now Ornn's not even behind. He's fucking ahead. Now Ruler has upgraded fucking ornaments. And
exactly.
It's so annoying because he wins the matchups he should lose, and he just scales faster into like God Ornn in the late game. And then he just
remember that
perfectly.
stupid meme where the whole reason his name's Baller, the 369 meme. People haven't completed it because you have to know how to tag. In a joke, you have a joke, and then you think of one that comes along after it. So you know everyone's doing the joke now, Monty. The point is, 369, you can beat him. 999, you can't beat. Well, if you don't know, in England, that's the number for the emergency services. So when 999 appears, it's like call an ambulance for you. That's the joke, isn't it? Like when 999 appears, you can't beat that guy, by the way. That's all. Like you say, he can play a champion that isn't supposed to win lane, not go behind, then go to the team fight. He's the best. How do you beat that? How do you beat that? You can't.
So here's the thing. Like, I kind of agree with the Ornn strategy because we shadowboxed how do you beat JDG a few, like, I don't know, a couple months ago, month and a half ago, maybe. You guys can go back and watch that episode. But I said one of the things might be is if we get in a top carry meta at Worlds, it's not that 369 can't play top carries. It's the problem is, does it affect JDG's ability to win a game because they can't play necessarily the same kind of front-to-back team fighting, right? Well, guess what, guys? It turns out that he can play Aatrox, TP into the middle of a pick composition, and because he has the perfect timing to buy Sterix Gauge and Gore Drinker, he will just live through every single targeted CC ability, and his team follows up, and that's it. I was watching that game. I saw him TPing in.
The two best team fight carries in the world just kill everyone.
Yeah, I looked at that, and I said, he's playing into LNG's win condition. LNG's playing a pick comp. Yes. This is exactly what they want. He just knew he was going to fucking live. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen anything like that before. And the confidence from missing to go ahead and follow up on that with the Rakan ultimate. It bought so much time for him to like proc the Gore Drinker. It was a beautiful team fight. But when and at that point in time, it was just doomed. Because if you can't make that pick that your team composition is supposed to do, and you dump every single CC ultimate into that Aatrox, the game's over. Like you literally don't have a win condition anymore. So it's crazy the knowledge that they have. I'm going to chalk it up to 369 being good as opposed to him just being lucky in this case that he managed to live through that, because he was never really close to dying either. But it was amazing. And, once you don't kill the Aatrox and he flashes out, you got nothing left. You don't have a Vialt, you know what I mean? And they're just going to run you down. It's very impressive. It's very impressive.
And I also feel like there's a weird angle that's counterintuitive about JDG, Monty, which is they do remind me in this sense of the old SKT of 2015. It's the fact that they can get behind and they'll still win. That just feels more depressing than getting stomped. If you get stomped, you go, whatever, a few early mistakes. It's worse when you're essentially, it's like being in one of those dreams, Monty, where you're running from someone, but you can never quite outrun them. And it's like in a cartoon, like where the guy runs, he goes, I can't outrun this guy. He goes to the airport, he takes a plane to Buenos Aires. He gets off the plane. He's there already. Oh, fuck. He gets in a teleporter. He goes to Mars. The guy's waiting for him outside. Like that. And then also, in each series, they also give you the one game where they let you stomp them to give you the false hope. Like, maybe it's possible. Oh, no, definitely not possible. Definitely not at all possible. Like, that's it. This team, for real, like, they just feel, I guarantee they just feel suffocating. Like, because I agree with what you're saying. This just looks to me like a mixture of all the officials we've seen, and then the amount of scrims people have played at Worlds in China means people don't even believe it's it's possible to win except via like the most extreme, crazy draft or like target one lane perma early. Like this is like it's like we're getting now, Monty. This is the context we're in. They're now making top 5 teams in the world play like crazy cheese to try and win single games. Like they're not in real league against them. This is crazy. What are we doing?
It reminds me of Terminator 2 with the T-1000, where it just, you could try and blow it up. Your win might be temporary, but it is going to all the liquid parts are just going to come back together, and it's going to keep coming at you no matter what. How the hell do you stop this thing? Except there is no Arnold Schwarzenegger to help you in this case. You just die. You're just Sarah Connor alone, dying. Skynet wins in the end, as is the inevitable fate of humanity in general as we get closer to AI. So we can all look forward to that. Hopefully not in our lifetimes. I would not like to be alive for that.
The only thing is, though, here's the question I have for you, Monty, which is, being in the end, Gen G only played GAM, T1, who they've beaten up on a whole bunch of times this year, and then they played the G2, which for them is one of the better draws for the 3-0 game.
Sure.
The problem is, I just haven't seen enough of Gen G to actually remember. The whole problem with Gen G, we all know, is how will Chovy and Peanut hold up in the play? We haven't had to see them tested. So, like, I want to believe, by the way, because here's what I'm going to tie it in as a bigger topic. The reason I need to sort of believe Gen G will be awesome is because my other fear is not only did JDG look incredible still and just never seem to let up, but you have a hard time saying who the second best team in the tournament is, mate. If it's not Gen G, which I have to hope when you play the real matches it is, who is the second best team? You know what I mean? Because everyone else
LNG probably,
right? Like, this game was sauce and then this game was a win. But you know what I mean? You can pick any of the other Korean teams. BLG, LNG, they just take turns and they're all over the place. It's hard to know who else is really strong for me.
I mean, LNG also hasn't been tested, right? They played Fnatic and then Cloud9 and then
played
another close series against JDG. So it's hard to get a read, I think, on either of those teams right now. What we can say is that Gen G's wins have been really clean. And outside of the start of the GAM game, which also ended in like 20 minutes, we haven't seen a lot of like happy gaming from Peanut, where he just randomly he did int in the river in the GAM game, but they were so much better, it didn't really matter. And, you know, you kind of, if you know Gen G, you do expect a wee bit of trolling in that particular matchup. Doran's been very good, though. I think we can say that so far. Doran's been really good. I think what's encouraging is that we've seen Gen G playing a Gen G style, which is refreshing, right? They haven't...
This is getting all his fucking kills off. Yeah, everything.
Yeah, they look really poised when it comes to objective control. Chovy has looked phenomenal so far. So I think if you're a Gen G fan, you may be lulled into a false sense of comfort, but it feels pretty good right now. Like, I think it feels pretty good.
I'll just throw this out there because this is like not a big topic, but if you go and look, bearing in mind GAM drew D+, right? D+ is going to win this game, right? Then there's a world where it could be like, who could actually play? It could be like NRG versus D+ for the 2-2 game. So there's a world where Deft and company are going to the playoffs as like the ultimate dark horse.
Yeah,
it's possible.
I think D+ is bad, so I'm not on that train. I don't take
format, mate.
I don't take the win over BDS, and here's why. You know, when Kana is carrying games, you know that team's bad because he can never do it against a good team. Every advantage that he gets.
Oh, right, let's do it then. Are you ready for a rant?
Yep.
Are you ready for a rant, Monty? Classic. Somebody Insight, right? I'm so sick and tired of Western fans deciding they want things that are mutually exclusive, right? Do you want entertainment, wrestling style, where you lose, but it's fun? Or do you want people trying to play League of Legends and win at the highest level? Because I'll tell you right now, Monty, if Upset, my mate, came to this tournament in great form and played all the meta champions and played a really good game, but lost to Deft, Ruler, people would mock him and say, who cares, you lost, you fucking loser. But when Adam plays meme champions, loses, and can't win the game, they go, it was a lot of fun to see Garen. What are you asking for in this game? If you're a player, that would drive you crazy. The idea that those are like simultaneously the same person has those opinions.
That's actually
it's mad, isn't it? Like, the joke is, because they even know it's a meme champion, they're like, oh, I never expected to win the game. Then why are we not criticizing him for playing Garen? What are we doing right now? What is this? Basically, the joke is, right, I'm going to call upset up the upset. Your problem is, mate, you're trying to play like Aphelios, play Timo. Give me a break.
That's because...
Is that what you want?
That's
is that
because
what you want?
I'll tell you the reason why. It's because this is the Zoomers, man. And here's what they think. They're in silver, and they think, Adam, he's just like me for real when he plays Garen. And that's what they enjoy, because it's what they're playing, and it's what they're seeing in their own games.
You know, the other problem as well is, let's be real, whenever you get a weird champion, there's always going to be my boy, Nick DeCesar's going to come up with some angle, right, as to how it could work in a comp. And then, as usual, all of his fans don't even listen. They play League of Legends, and instead of watching Hunter x Hunter, they listen to LS, right? And so they don't hear why he says, you know, Garen, or why you would pick Ivan. They just hear, Ivan's good. And so then they go into all the match threads and they're like, should have picked, this is an Ivan angle, even though they don't even know the matchup. And they always have an angle for every shit champ. Spoiler, if Garen's awesome, when should I expect to see the 369 Garen game? What do you think I'll actually see Thorin pull out his Garen and pull? What do you think? Do you think Zika will do it? Will Zika do a Garen angle? Give me a break. You know what I mean? Give me a break.
The joke is Keen might actually do it. Keen's actually that guy.
Maybe, mate. Yeah, true. True.
Keen might be that guy.
He has the ego to do it. True. He has the ego.
Oh, too funny. But yeah, I think that is a valid point.
I'll also do this. I'll address a
fans.
petty grievance, which is when I flamed Nook. Which, are you ready, Monty? I actually gave the Zoomers a break there. I flamed Nook by not tagging him on Twitter or replying to him. I made a tweet on my Twitter account, literally a war crime against humanity. I made a tweet where I said earlier in the year, after that like BDS run, basically like Nook should sort of like be grateful, like essentially, like you better like sort of understand this is his window to be on a really good team, because I think he's kind of a mid laner in LEC, and this is, you know, it won't last forever basically. He then replied and was like, "Lal, suck my dick." Right. But then Adam, because he's so salty still that I put him in the fucking dumpster over that outrageous upset story from years ago, where he basically like caused someone actual emotional torment over their wife having a very serious real life situation. But he's a young dickhead who didn't know. Then Adam had to pop in and comment, right? And because of what an outrageous thing I said, he said, "You are a disgrace to the ecosystem." Well, you know what, Adam? Europe has mid laners, top laners like Odoamne, by the way, multiple times playoffs of Worlds, being against some of the, even people like fucking Smeb were telling him he was the shit right there. You have people like him. You have, go back through the years, Wonder, one of the best top laners of all time, probably from any region. If you go in top 50, Soaz, you go down the fucking list. Even the other ones, the Alfaris of the world are pretty good. We're sending Adam, and the joke is which meme champion will he pick? He's like got a flywheel, and he's doing... And then you're a disgrace to the ecosystem, you fucking joke. So tell you what, fuck off.
It's not even just that, Thorin. It's the meme wheel, but it's the price of the meme wheel. The price of the meme wheel is you have to ban Kennen and Rumble. And guys, did you see what happens when you don't ban Rumble? Did you see that? It's not like Kana's the best top laner here. His best champion this year was Renekton. He was undefeated in spring on Renekton, the spring split. And teams just realized they couldn't give it to him anymore. And here he is on Rumble, completely styling on you because you didn't ban it out. And the reason you didn't ban it out was because you finally hit a team where Deft is so terrifying that you have to ban Kalista and Xayah because you know you lose because your bot lane has been dying in lane this entire fucking tournament.
Oh, mate. Should we address that? Here's why BDS was never legit. Because in Europe, Crownie had to be like the best player in the league to make them good. Mate, when he has a screamer like this, they're nothing. They have nothing in this game. They have no drafts. They have no fucking team fight. If Crownie doesn't play really well, the team is nothing. Like, this is why I made that Nook comment, because it was never Nook and Adam, guys. In fact, the joke is the two players that in my opinion, made that team were Shio and Crownie, and you've seen what happens when each of them drops off their game a bit. The team just disappears. That's why I give mad props to their coaching staff, by the way. I think their coaching staff crafted them so they looked like they didn't have weaknesses when they were at their best. But as soon as some of the flaws appeared, it just unraveled, didn't it?
Look, I don't think Crownie had a good tournament. I think that's straight up true.
Terrible.
But
he wasn't even that good in the fucking playing shit, mate.
No. So, but I do think also simultaneously that the rewriting of history, as if Crownie wasn't good, guys, they would not have made the finals and nearly won LEC. He did have a very good split, and that they rode his carry performances. So it's disingenuous to say that he's always bad or he's a shitter, because we've seen he has a high ceiling as well, and he has been good in the past.
Absolutely, yeah. So whatever. Here's the thing. In the end, BDS did just revert back to being a meme, so whatever on that one. It's just whatever, really. Just another way. Here's the thing. You know what? Here's where I'll finally give an olive branch to you morons who are the Adam fans. Don't worry, it's actually not Adam's fault that this happened. It actually, low-key, is the fault of my boys Perks and Upset and people like that, and my boy Odoam the On XL. You're the ones who were supposed to take the spot from these guys. You were supposed to knock them out, and you should be here at this tournament playing real League of Legends. But you aren't. So as a result, I can't blame BDS. They beat who was in front of them. They got here. By the way, they won that 4th place game. Here's what I love about that match right now, Monty. Before that match, as the betting showed you, every moron in the world would tell you Golden Guardian should be there instead. But because they played, BDS proved that it should be BDS. BDS got to play. So I can't totally blame BDS. Essentially, it's the fault of Europe. I made this point after the season, mate. This is the worst ever year for Europe, I think, ever in history. Like, after G2, we have nothing. For real, Fnatic is our only other hope. Fnatic. And by the way, here's why it really sucks. Because we had BDS as well, Monty. Mad Lions is a fucking war crime, what they are doing at these international tournaments. But we don't even get to talk about them because BDS is going 0-3. Like, Mad Lions actually is beyond a fucking piss take right now, mate. It's mental, isn't it? Like, listen, I'll give them credit. They do have that thing where their coach couldn't go initially and all that shit. Like, true, but holy fuck. I think it was, I can't remember if it was Grabs who said this. You look at the roster on paper, it's impossible it can be this bad. You look at the roster looks fucking sick. Think about these players. By the way, when I just say El Yoya Hillisag, or dude, isn't that like a fucking playoff team already in the Worlds? Then let's throw in some other players. Like Chasey looked all right. I'm not a big fan of him. Niski's usually a mega team player in the team. And then actually Kazi, unironically, probably a top 3 LEC player of all roles this year. Team on paper, that they should be mixing up. They should be doing, by the way, what NRG's doing, giving like actual upsets, like getting wins, getting on the board. And instead, they're almost certainly just going to go out like a meme themselves now and just look like a fucking joke.
I think it's even more embarrassing because NRG did their absolute best to throw the game that they played against Mad Lions. And I think, you know, this just goes to show that NRG won NA by catching throws, if we're being honest. It wasn't really through proactive macro plays. It was kind of just standing around, providing mild pressure and waiting for the enemy team to throw into them. And that's the main issue with having faith in NRG as any kind of contender in this event, is that when they try and do things proactively, they sort of just fail. And it was a minor miracle that after we saw Palafox Talia ult into the entirety of Mad Lions, that Mad Lions didn't win that game. Because what was
that's when I would make the joke, like, can someone investigate this guy for match fixing? What are you doing? Like,
you know, what's amazing about that ultimate, Thorin, and like we can have a chuckle at his like stolen rumble ults as well, which were really terrible. But he made like, there were a lot of decisions you could make in that situation, right? Your Mountain Soul is spawning in 15 seconds. You are in the top lane away from your team. You have stolen Talia ult and you have teleport ult up, or you have teleport up. They do not have a tier 1 turret in the top lane. The entirety of Mad Lions is chasing you into the top lane. Now, 4 other members of your team could, I don't know, go to Seoul, first off, and they're pinging the jungle. I was watching this on my stream where I was VOD reviewing it. There were pings from energy like crazy in the topside jungle. And what you could do, there's many things you could do. You could Talia ult behind the Baron pit and walk around through enemy jungle to rejoin your team. You could try and teleport out of that situation once you get into the alcove in the top lane. You could Talia ult down top lane to provide pressure onto the tier 2 while your team does dragon. You already won Soul for free. If you buy 5 seconds of time, and Mad Lions just isn't apparently looking at the dragon spawn timer, so it was a free Mountain Soul. And the hilarious thing is NRG won this game anyway, but instead what Palafox does is he just Talia ults directly into all of the members of Mad Lions that his team told him they was there. And the only reason And this was just like error upon error. The only reason that this game was close is because after he egregiously inted with Talia ult, Mad Lions walks over to Dragon, and apparently in a power play situation with Silas dead, it requires 5 Mad Lions players to take a Drake, and they have no vision on Baron. And guess what happens? NRG has, they've got Kaisa, they've got a Maokai with Demonic Embrace, they have a Jace, and they're able to power down that Baron for free. So it's like the game was gifted to Mad Lions. So it said nothing good about either NRG or Mad Lions. It was a hilariously bad game of League of Legends.
It's like I say, I actually said this coming into Worlds. The problem is, this is where you always have to look at the genesis of how a team got to Worlds, Monty. And actually, wasn't supposed to be #1 seed. Like, on paper, they were probably supposed to be 4th seed and just get here and then play like that decider match. Like, I'll give them props, like I said. It's not like when you have to catch a throw. There are a lot of teams, by the way, there's a lot of NA teams. Team Liquid can't catch a throw. They wouldn't have been able to catch these ones. So it does take a level of talent. It takes a level of understanding, decision-making, team play. But the problem is, what else have they got after that? So then you look at the other teams, they can't beat an Asian team in a best of 3. Think about it. Like, if they play, even if you think DPlus is a meme, they would fucking murk this NRG team in a best of 3, man. I'm telling you right now. Of course they would. Because like you say, not only are you not going to get the same type of throw, like it's only a Mad Lions could give you this. Mad Lions gave you this miracle one. And by the way, on that Mad Lions one, like I say, they've just been a bomber the whole tournament, man. I've never had even a second where I could sort of like get into it. There's been nothing available for me to enjoy about Mad Lions. It's just been garbage.
Yeah.
Sad. Because they do have the players, like I say. Like, I think, like, I'll just say right now, because it's his worst moment. Right now, I believe when League of Legends is done, El Yoya will be like a top 5 jungler ever from the West. I think people like Kazi actually has a chance to become a very good player. He's won a bunch of championships. You think of like Niski. He will be thought of as like the high of fucking Europe, like that analogy.
He's gotten better year over year.
He's the glue of all these teams. Yeah, exactly. The problem is though, but I'll tell you the one person though who is killing his fucking legacy. Hylissang.
Yeah.
Hylissang's killing that legacy, mate. This guy, once upon a time, remember that time when him and Mickey X were like 1A, 1B, mate? That's years ago now. What are we? I mean, it was technically spring last year when he was at MVP, but you know what I mean? Like that. It's been a bad few years for Hylissang. Hylissang's just sort of withered on the vine. It's sad because remember, that was another thing we said at this Worlds. That's supposed to be a win condition, is Hylissang. Like he might come out and have a pike pick. He might come out. By the way, Rakan is fucking meta. He might pick a Rakan and bounce all over everyone in a team fight, or even zone you because he's scared of Hylissang's Rakan. No one's scared of Hylissang right now, mate. Except his own team. That's obvious joke.
Yeah, this team, unfortunately,
it was coming from inside the house. It was Hylissang inside the house.
The same thing could be said about Fnatic. I know Fnatic also. We can talk about Mac not being there at Worlds this year, but I don't think Mad Lions was particularly inspiring, even with Mac towards the end of the LEC playoffs. But Fnatic's kind of in the same situation where they didn't have Oscarinen. He's still a pretty green player. But at least, I will say, at least as Fnatic, I have liked parts of their gameplay. The BLG game, they did a lot of good shit, man. And part of that was, I saw Chakarez tweeting about this. BLG has literally never, this roster of BLG has literally never played against Ivern before, which makes sense if you watch that game where they're trying to fight at Herald and just in a choke point getting 3 men knocked up by Daisy. It was really funny. It was like they didn't know what Daisy did, right. Which they might not have. So, and they had the Poppy flex up into the top lane. That is a very good matchup into Jax because he basically can't get in Counter-Strike range with Leap Strike, and it really fucks him up. And you get a lot of free grasp procs off of throwing bucklers at his face. So I think they did some really nice things. And they were also doing really good objective setup. And really big credit to Oscarinen because he was getting clutch Poppy ults. He was like hiding in Maokai brushes or whatever, trying to get the Poppy ults off so you could get the man advantage. He was ejecting Jun from some of these fights on the Sejuani so they could secure the dragon. The thing is that they tried to opt into the team fights afterwards when they had already gotten what they came for, right? You get rid of the Sejuani, you take the Drake, just hold the W and walk away. Do not fight BLG. BLG loves to team fight.
Amazing team fight team, of course.
Do not do you guys. You literally pick the Poppy to have a good matchup into Jax. And obviously, Bin's Jax is really fucking good. So maybe don't give them the Jax in the first place. But there is a way to win games with Poppy if you are not the better team fighting team. And that is to use it for objective control. They were successfully doing that. And then they were opting into the fights afterwards instead of just walking the fuck away. So this is all to say, Fnatic made some bad decisions. These are correctable decisions in my mind relatively easily. And there are things to like about the early game that we saw against BLG.
Yes. And then I'm just going to say it on Fnatic. Look, I have heard that apparently Humanoid is actually legitimately ill at some point in time in this tournament, right? But I will just say, what's that? Fucking flu that's lasted 2 years or something, you fucking idiot. He is on an enormous contract if people don't know. It's why Fnatic can't move him, I've heard. No team will touch him. It's just a weird, it's like one of those toxic contracts in sports where you just hang your whole payroll to take him. Like, look, this guy, I'm just going to say, I think he's one of the most overrated European mid laners of all time, Monty. Because think about the European mid laners we produce. If you do a top 10 of European mid laners, you are talking about some bangers. Even at his best, this guy used to phone in regular season and then flip the switch in the playoffs. It's at his best. Then he's had these splits that were just whatever. And then now at Worlds, bro, that fucking EDG and T1 game last year at Worlds saved his whole fucking career. Every moron just tells me about that game. They ignore all of LEC. So now I come to this year. He gets to get fucking praised for beating GAM in a BO1. And then all I'm going to say is this. How was he doing against LNG? Where was the fucking sick mid laner? Oh, but he always does well against Scout. Did fucking nothing in that game, mate. He was a black hole. Did nothing. He was just fucking garbage. Like, this guy is, if he has a good game, they rave about him. If he has a bad game, the joke is he blamed Razork. That's been the way the last 2 years was in League of Legends.
He had a good start in the BLG game with the Akali, with the kills he got with Razork. His fucking
career too. How did that work out?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard.
Understand, this is what I do, boys. My point is I just react to people on the desk. Basically, I'm like Mad Lions. I just let the NA guy do whatever he wants, and I just react to it.
I think Razork's been good. I think
Razork's a beast, mate. Fair play to him. He's another player that's improved fucking split from when he first joined Fnatic.
Humanoid's been phoning it in domestically for the last couple of years. I think that's
the bag.
A completely.
Everyone says he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, fair argument.
People say he doesn't like League of Legends, Monty. Well, you know what? I sort of understand it, because when I watch him play League of Legends, I don't like League of Legends. I can do this all day, boys. I'm here till Tuesday. Tip you waiter.
Yeah. It's been rough.
Aside from that, by the way, to go back to my comment earlier, tie the two narratives together, Monty. Outside of JDG and Gen G, who don't really know yet, everyone else in NA, everyone else who's from the Asian region actually looks potentially beatable in a BO1 until you see the Western teams play. And then you go, all right, even still the gap.
Well, that is the joke, because you have some modicum of hope. You're like, wow, DPlus looked rough in those late games. Kellen's kind of running it down. And then they just completely shit stop BDS.
I know. And even the shit, by the way, where everyone was loving, like, lol, what a fucking meme Weibo are. Weibo's going to take care of these Westerners, boys. NRG. Then they're going to take Mad Lions. And then who knows, maybe they get like fucking Fnatic in the next one and just go to the playoffs anyway after all that shit. By the way, should we do it, Monty? I'm going to set you up on this one, mate. Are you ready? This is going to be like a fucking Magic Johnson behind the back that you can just lay it up. What do you think about a big figure in League of Legends? Are you ready? I love skits. I love skits and props and, like big moments. Tell you what would be really crazy is if someone had, in theory, a traditional like sort of allegiance they should have, and then they played that up. But then last second, they pull a switcheroo, and their obvious actual like perceived bias is revealed via a shirt which is swapped. Now, I know you League of Legends Zoomers think Jat invented that. But all I'm going to say is Monty did that 5 years ago. And there's no... by the way, I don't blame Kid. Kedro pulled it off.
Oh, he did it well.
Just do this for me, please. 1, just say it's an homage to what Monty did. Do that and it's cool. And then 2... is that the only move? Is the next move? Hey, Monty, here's the joke. if Weibo makes semis, is K-Drug going to have a fucking train whistle? What are we doing here? Is there anything else? Is there any, did you create every possible skit? What's going on? I don't get it.
I mean, here's the thing about the K-Drug thing. First off, I think he did it.
By the way, so keep going. Yeah.
He did a very good job with it. He did, especially the acting afterwards, and the fact that the game was then thrown. He sold it super well. So, credit to him.
You know they believe that. You do know the fans believe he's actually like in depression because Weibo lost a game. I can't even. Look, bro, this is crazy how bad Zoomers are. Like Zoomers, if you introduce the WWE today, they'd think it was real. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. The porn acting that they're buying is mental in it.
He sold it. Now, look, I'm not salty about like the shirt under the shirt thing. Like that's just classic sports. You know what I mean? What triggered me about Jat was that here's the difference, guys. When I did the shirt under the shirt with the shirt under that I have never seen before besides me doing it. And it might be a fine distinction, especially if you hate me. You might, not take my side on that one, but it was what Jat did was like literally beat for beat what I did. What K-Drug did was not, to be clear. That's just that, that's whatever. But I think
at least his was set up well, like you say. I think he actually did it properly. By the way, I will say this though. I want to see your take on this, Monty. There's only me and you would even notice this, but I want to see what you think. Right? I'm not joking, Monty. If I was K-Drug, I would be fucking furious at how that broadcast was. Dude, they tried to preempt that he had the shirt underneath and said on the broadcast, what's that shirt you've got underneath there? What the fuck are you doing right now? There's a wrestler on the mic, and I'd hate it if my enemy came in with a steel chair when I'm out. It's the kid in orbit! Even though that's my boy Wolf, what are you doing right now? You don't ever, before someone... There's a great line, Monty. It's from the movie Glengarry Glen Ross, where the Al Pacino character tells the Kevin Spacey character, you never fucking say anything if you don't know the shot. If you don't know what I'm doing, don't ever fucking jump in because you didn't make the broadcast better. You actually fucked that spot. Now, look, the fans forgot. But when I saw him do that, I remember thinking, that better not be what actually happens. If he actually does take his shirt off now, you've blown it. Why have you done that?
This
That's
is why...
crazy to me.
This is why when I do things like the shirt rip or the train whistle, I don't tell the other people on the desk what I'm doing. In fact, the shirt rip one that I did, I actually bought multiple copies of the American flag shirt. I went into the bathroom because I had to test rip them because I had to make a cut in the seam. So I had to make sure that I made the smallest possible cut where I could easily rip it off. So I was literally standing in a bathroom ripping off multiple shirts just so I made sure that moment was right. And then I told no one what I was doing. Told no one. Because you want the real reaction too.
You have to understand, Bayo. I understand if you're a fan, you don't care. But as someone who works broadcast, that's the sort of shit that drives people crazy. Is when like I'm preparing something that's cool, you think you're helping. I'm helping, and you fuck it all up for me. You know what I mean? Like I hate shit like that. You know the other one as well. The other one, like you're saying, is if you ever have like an amazing insight, but you make the mistake of commenting on it while watching the game in the green room, and then the other wanker says it before you on the desk, you're like, really? I was sat right there. You know what? It's my point. That's the other one that, like, if you broadcast talent, these are the things that
is
do.
taboo.
You'll never know on the camera. Oh, by the way, spoiler. I'll give everyone a little favour here, Monty. I won't say who. We'll play a little guessing game. One of the greatest NA talents of all time in League of Legends routinely did what I just described there. That was his fucking signature move, the old backstab. But I won't say who. Which in some ways is really unfair because now, if you think it's like the ones that it isn't, they're going to get hated on. But spoiler, they're all people who've been wankers to me anyway. So you get them, boys. Go after them. Really sounds.
Yeah, that is, by the way, the ultimate scumbag move is to steal other people's green room points and then present them as your own. It's fucked up, man. It's fucked up.
At least because when you're the other guy, you're like, well, no, I don't have a point. What are you doing? Like, that was my point.
Yeah, it's one thing if you broach the conversation like that. If you say something like, "Oh, we were talking about this backstage, and you said this. Tell me your thoughts," and then you can like react to it, and that's totally fair game. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's messed up to steal people's points. It's super messed up.
Here's how we can spin this one and talk about League again. Well, I'll give them props. Another good thing, though, about this format compared to the old format is, dude, we're about to have LNG versus KT in a best of 3 and BLG versus T1 in a best of 3. This is going to be fun. This is exactly what we've all been asking for years. International competition with a series. Like, these are going to be good matches. I'm looking forward to them. And by the way, what's great is you can have either angle on both. You can take either side to win. Sick. I even think those are very interesting matchups. Even like they're totally different style contrasts. Like what's funny is BLG and T1 could be more different. LNG and KT actually share some sort of similarities. Just the strength of the players is different. Like where you're getting the win from. So because there's what. Which one do you want to talk about first? Which one hypes you the most?
I think KT LNG because people look. You guys know I overdose on the KT copium, but people are, I think,
They've gone the other way. They're making it out like KT's Weibo, aren't they? And they can't possibly win. Yeah, they are. I know what you mean.
You know, I'm not going to say KT's had the best tournament. I'm not gonna make that claim. They have looked better, I think, as time has gone on. BDD is getting better and better. But the thing about KT and LNG, which is so interesting, is we've just seen LNG play a bunch of pick compositions against JDG. Who's the king of the pick comp in Korea? That's KT Rolster, right? So this is a team that really does play a style that we've seen LNG preferring. Now, I don't know if they prefer this style simply because they've played JDG so many times and this is how they think they can beat JDG. I don't know if they're going to opt into it in a similar fashion as we saw with KT. But KT's a very creative team. They think very well on the fly. You guys kind of saw those like cool Nico ganks where BDD was pretending to be Nautilus in that game.
That was one of the best Nico plays you've seen in a while, mate. All those stupid Western ones where they turn a minion and they hide in the plant or whatever. That was perfect. That was almost what the guy who invented Nico must have literally wanted you to do with it.
So the old switcheroo.
The way he even did the walk up like a Nautilus, dude, that was fucking sick. He did the stupid zoning walk up and then just did the pop. Oh, that was so fucking good, wasn't it? That was fire.
It was great. It was almost better, except unfortunately there was a minion in the way of Nautilus's hook, of Lehenz's hook. But yes. Whatever, it's fine. It turned out great. They snowballed the game really effectively. Then they kind of threw it at 20 minutes into the game. It got a little concerning with some over pursuits that were happening. Like that's for sure. It felt a bit ropey, especially with the team fight scaling that we saw from Weibo in the late game. Like the Sivir and Ori were getting pretty scary there. But you really saw aiming step up, and you saw, you know, when they make a decisive play,
can really carry a late game.
I mean, he mega carried on that Kai'Sa in the last team fight by getting the backline access and blowing up their backline immediately. It was a really, really good play by aiming. Keen is still a hyper versatile player, but I think, you know, if LNG opts into kind of single target pick comps, this could be a very interesting kind of mirror matchup between these two squads.
Yes.
And KT is just so good at this. I think it's intriguing. I think it's really intriguing.
I think this is a game. Like I say, I know, listen, I know the odds aren't going to be directly, but I think this is a real coin flip because think about like the different ways it can go even. Stylistically, I agree. They're actually similar teams, which is the cool thing. In fact, people were even talking all year about how it's the classic, they're the LCK team and the LPL, you know, all that shit, right? But then you come to this matchup now, right? In every other matchup that LNG plays, it's like we always have the option to go through Zika. Do you? I thought Keen was the best top laner in the world prior to the playoffs. Then we go the mid laners. BDD's pretty fucking good. I think Scout's mega, but BDD's pretty good. And then you go to bot lane. I'll tell you what, actually, that's where I think the pressure is. I think Light is going to be under pressure in this game, mate, because I do think he tossed that game against G2. I don't know what the fuck the build was. I think he made some real mistakes in the positioning. Like, this is an interesting match for me. Sorry, Gala. Yeah, Gala. Yes, exactly. Look, Nick Gala, in that scenario, that's just about who gets the draft. Yeah, so I think it's fucking sick. This is a mega matchup.
Yeah, Gala has been really good.
I think it's a chance both teams can be in the playoffs also. So this doesn't even have to be it. Maybe they both get through.
Yeah, I really hope both of these teams get through to the playoffs just because, look, KT is my favorite Korean team. LNG is my favorite Chinese team. So, like, I don't want to see either of these teams eliminated. I think it's just really, really hard to call. And they have, you know, KT still has kind of a very deep bag of tricks, particularly with Keen and his flexibility in the top lane. And now that, especially, what's exciting is because these teams are going to have several days to prepare for these matchups. It's not like they're just going into it. There's a couple days off that will really help, I think, make these particular matchups bangers. It should be good. I hope we get to see kind of the continued growth of KT and BDD and as they overcome these nerves, because not seeing peak form KT would be really a shame at this tournament, I think, because they are a dark horse in the same way LNG is for a championship. If you just watched LCK playoffs, you were probably, and I think legitimately disappointed, especially in their draft strategy versus T1, which was complete shit. It hasn't looked like their draft strategy is bad. I guess we'll see in the prep phase. They've had some time to prep for LNG, but this is a very good team. when they're at their peak. I hope they can get there again. If not, I love LNG too. And I was so psyched to see the Gala upgrade coming into summer, and it really, really has paid dividends. Could it be better for Gala? He still got his Ziggs pocket pick chilling there in the bot lane. He's got the Kaisa that's here, of course, his signature champion. Feels really good to be this team right now. And Scout may be the best player at World so far. You could make that argument.
Well, the only problem for LNG is they had sort of like the weak matchups, and then they had to play JDG. And spoiler, anyone can look bad against JDG. You'll find out soon. If you think all the other teams are great, we'll find out. For all we know, maybe even Gen G gets smashed by JDG later. We'll see. We'll see, boys.
Here's the interesting question, Thorin. Here's the interesting question. If KT wins and KT beats LNG by playing pick compositions, and LNG has correctly identified that this is a weakness that JDG have, is KT actually the kryptonite to JDG? Like that.
The funny thing is, Monty, to a fan who doesn't watch LCK, the only reason to say no is because of the playoff breakdown. So you know that on paper they broke down, didn't do what they should. But I agree, if you do the thing that you're supposed to do in analysis, which is look fundamentally who the players are and the style and match them in a game and imagine KT doesn't crumble, I agree, they're actually probably one of your best chances to beat. Even though they're actually not as good as people like BLG potentially, stylistically, it is probably the chance to beat JDG, yeah. I think you've got a shot, at least to get some games off them.
Yeah, and the thing is if you look at the games that LNG wins, take the game they won in this best-of-3 series, there were mistakes that JDG were making early in terms of getting caught out that caused a snowball. KT is very good at doing that. Very good.
Yes.
And it may not be that KT is on the whole a better team than JDG. It just may be that they have refined this one style that might be effective. It's a supposition. It's a long shot because I'm saying it would require LNG to be correct about JDG's weakness, but unable to execute it at the top level. It also requires KT to be able to execute it better than LNG, of which we do not have any evidence that that's the case. But if they can execute it better than LNG, and LNG has been this close to beating JDG, is there a world where KT pulls off that kind of an upset? I don't know.
I mean, as soon as I saw the Zika angle in the LPL playoffs, the first thought I had was, we have to put Keen in that scenario. I have to put Keen on a Renekton or a Camilo. Let's get him on a carry champ. And then, by the way, after that, if they lose, then I'll give it to 369. No one could beat you, mate. You're just unbeatable at this point in time. Because Keen's the obvious one that can do it.
Yeah. I also think that you have to admit that LNG just has a higher floor than KT does. They've been much more consistent. Which has been the issue. So it could be just too much to ask from this KT roster that hasn't really delivered in the most important moments. But perhaps this is the turnaround. I mean, we're looking, it's the same thing as Gen G at international tournaments. We need KT and Gen G's performance in these moments to change for them to have a chance.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, obviously throw this out there. If they end up losing now, KT, but then go through 2-2, they might just get straight drawn against JDG in the quarters, mate. That's on the cards at that point. I mean, they can get 1-3-1-8, but yeah, we'll see. The BLG T1 one I think is really spicy though, because remember, it's not only the rematch from MSI. That was the shock. Everyone was sure Tier 1 was going to win because how awesome that upper bracket match against JDG was. But the problem with T1 is, dude, this is why this team is a nightmare. They really are just this crazy mixed bag. Like, for example, there have been in the groups, there have been some nice Zeus games. Yeah, there've been some. Guess what? Suddenly Kerrier's doing all the fucking genius plays again. There are the moments that make you believe. But then, like I said against TL, then you think about how Orny did that fucking top gang. It's like, really? Like this C1 is just, you roll the die, mate. You roll the die and see how it comes up with.
You think of the owner game against Team Liquid, and then you think of the owner game where they played against Cloud9, and he completely carried the game. Right, with Zeus in the top side.
This is the NA GOAT. NA GOAT. Not Worlds, of course, but NA GOAT.
I mean, C9 was horrific that game. The draft was horrific. The way they played the draft was horrific. And the thing about T1 is you might think to yourself, wow, T1 really snapped back into form. Here is the truth about T1, guys. They are the best peasant smashing team in the LCK.
Yes.
They win games against bad teams real fast because their strength is snowballing a lane, repeatedly diving that lane, punishing the ever-loving shit out of that lane, and then just shoving the victory down your throat as fast as possible. So don't be fooled by T1 completely bopping Cloud9 from making mistakes. If you make egregious mistakes against T1, they are one of the teams that will punish you the most for those egregious mistakes. But when you're not that bad, they don't actually have the firepower or the late game consistency to take you out. I challenge you guys to go back and watch Faker in the Cloud9 game. He does nothing the whole game. And he doesn't have to do anything. I'm not saying he has to, but he's like sitting there like Belvethulting.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like stealing Belvethul to Silas and just like waving his like Stingray flippers around, doing nothing. Okay. So it wasn't a great Silas game. It wasn't even a particularly good game to pick Silas in the first place. And the reason they got so far ahead was that Cloud9 completely fucked up playing the game of League of Legends. They completely fucked it up. They R5 Belveth. They know here's the thing about T1 guys. Faker, I call it the Faker ward. Minute 30, there is a ward that Faker puts at Raptors every single game. Every game, he walks out of lane at a minute 30 and he puts a ward at Raptors, okay? Sometimes a little earlier, but a lot of times he does it as late as possible. So you know there's a ward on your Raptors. When you pick a losing matchup, so you let them have Rumble, you intentionally pick Jax into it, and in order to do okay in this matchup, you require your jungler to get a deep ward into the jungle so you can proxy farm and then cheater recall back into base to buy yourself some magic resist. But if you walk past the Raptor ward, they know where your jungler is. And then they just invade you in the top side and they dive the Jax and you don't have any advantages anymore. And we're left holding an empty bag, wondering why we picked Jax in a counter matchup if we required our Belveth to get behind. And there is no hope and the game is completely fucking doomed. It was tragic. And yes, T1 did an excellent job of punishing that play. That is what they do. Do not do dumb things against T1 because you will immediately get the clapback. But also don't let this have faith in you in T1 because I don't think they're going to beat BLG. I just don't think that this team in this state, Faker's champion pool has still looked kind of rough at Worlds. He hasn't had the big performances yet. And BLG kind of crapped on T1 at MSI when Faker was maybe in the best form of his career in the last 5 years. And he's not right now, guys. And guess what? Owner's not in great shape right now either. And Zeus will choke eventually. So who's going to do it?
Hope not, but yeah, you hope. Yeah. By the way, that's actually there's my one light for T1 is if this is the tournament where Zeus doesn't choke, mate, now is an amazing time, like you say, to have a carry a top option. Like that could suddenly make T1 a dark horse. It could actually make them a team that could do something. They could really go deep in this tournament. But look, we just got to pray. This is the problem with the Korean teams at the moment. There's just a few big stars that just don't have the best history when it gets to the big match. So if someone can overcome that, here's the good news, Monty. I'm going to do the ultimate version of like stacking the odds between BDD, Zeus, fucking Gumayushi. Who else are we going with here? Keen, fucking Peanut, Chovy. Surely one of them's going to fucking actually play in the playoffs. Surely one or two. Just give me a couple. And if I get a couple, it's game on. Now we can actually have a fucking Korean team that's going to do something. Yeah, that's all I need. You've got so many chokers there. Someone's going to not choke, surely. By the way, if they just play each other, someone might not choke. Just have Chovy and then play Keen and then problem solved. Then it can go through, can't we?
Please no.
I'll give you a random aside. Here's a classic rant as well, where I just react to annoying things said in interviews. I was trying to search there, but I can't find the exact quote. There was an interview. I think I'm going to guess Ashley Kang or Travis Gafford, the people doing the interviews. It was with Berserker. I can't remember if it was before or after they beat Mad Lions, but he basically made some sort of comment where it was like, the gist was sort of like, like something like during my time here, like NA hasn't really had a problem with Europe. It's like, They're look in the mirror. You're not from NA. You're a Korean fucking player playing for an NA team. Like, how is that? How does trash talking regions work when you're Korean? By that logic, China has dicked every Korean for the last every year except DRX and Damwon. Do you agree with that? Of course you don't. Do you actually think all those Chinese players were better? No, they had Korean super carries. You what? That's so egregious to do that when you are the super carry. You're literally a big fish in a small pond going, these little small fish can't really handle me. Guy who shouldn't even be in this pond. Like, what the fuck? That trash talk never works. I know Koreans have just been taught you just do generic trash talk. We will win the game and they are not as good. Like, I get that. I get that that's a thing. But Berserker, read the room, mate. Like, here's the real question I would have, Berserker. You leave that team and I'll give Cloud9 a choice. They can pick any non-import place. They can even have FBI. They can have anyone who's not an import. Does Cloud9 now have a chance against the European teams? Do they fuck? So sit down. And also, you did that after Mad Lions, bro. You're saying that like it was G2, my homie. Look at the rest of the tournament. C9's done nothing.
Here's what I want to know, Thorin, is that when we talk about Cloud9 and the strategy they go into this game, you know, versus T1, who did look legitimately beatable by Team Liquid, a worse North American team, right? And they sit there and they think to themselves, what is the best way we could win this game? Should we take a counter-pick Should we take a counter-pick top matchup that will then gimp our two best players, Berserker and Blabber, so that we can let me check my notes. Enable Fudge, who never shows up at an international tournament, versus one of the best carry top laners.
I've made this comment in the past, Monty. Fudge does some really good work at making himself a fan favourite on LS's streaming and interviews. Enough about that. Here's the thing about Fudge. He's a really chill guy. No wonder he's fucking fridge. I tell you what, he keeps everything nice and cold internationally, doesn't he? Oh, a nice cold... Oh, it's out of Foster's or something, which if you don't know, by the way, they don't even drink in Australia. It's called piss, basically. Like, they import that. So the joke is, Monty, he is Foster's. You think he's like Australia's best, then you import him and you're drinking him. I'm drinking a Foster's here. And they go, you fucking dickhead, that's not even that good. There you go. Meanwhile, I guess FBI's like, you know, the special IPA they've got there that you all underrate and think's not that good. There you go. There's my main for you. I don't even drink beer. I think they're all shit, but whatever.
I just don't understand like what the game plan is in that scenario.
Here's a layup for you as all, Monty. You called it ages ago. How is anyone on the MNS train still? How is anyone on it? By the way,
I don't think anybody is, to be fair.
He seems to be like, he's not toxic, but he just seems like a bit of a dick. And if people don't know, I've been looking into this. The horror stories following him from coaches from ERL is insane, mate. They can't even believe he's at a team at Worlds. Like, what were they doing? Like, all I'm going to say is this. It's obviously a classic wheelhouse I'm playing into here, but why does everyone hate winning with Jensen? I don't get it. Why does everyone go out, please, anyone but Jensen, please, anyone but Jensen? Literally, Steve Arlen says, you know what, I'll tank the next 2 years and about $10 million as long as Jensen's not on my team. Jack from Cloud9, can I have DPlus? Fuck, DPlus didn't work out. What about Eminence? How about a mid laner? How about someone who plays League of Legends? Can we have him? Please? Give me a break. Because they're solo laners. Like I said this coming in the tournament, Monty. The reason I never had any hope for C9 is their solo laners are trash. They just are. What are you going to do with that? Nothing. And by the way, I'm not hating on him because he's a role swap. But it's not like Sven's going to be a tall near the top of the supports. So you literally are just a jungler and a fucking ADC. And you know what? That jungler ints. That's why if you're Berserker, this is fucking nightmare mode. Like, you can't even get in the game, man.
I just wish Blabber wouldn't be a team player. I wish he wouldn't be. Just imagine that. I
want the game. Ask for the carry pick. I want Dardoch. I want Dardoch Blabber. That's what I want. Man.
I am dying. I am dying for the audio of their comms and draft when they get to R5 of the game versus T1, and Blabber just agrees to pick Belveth and then go help the Jax on a ward he has to know that is there. And then I would just be so angry. I'd be like, you motherfucker, you picked into a losing matchup, so I have to do this shit. And now our entire team is completely and totally boned.
I'll tell you what sentence I never thought I'd ever say, though. Here's a sentence I never thought I'd ever say, though. Cloud9 against T1, Monty, is two teams playing at a world championship that could have been coached by LS. Did I slip into an alternate timeline here? So what's going on right now? What the fuck? What is reality? Dude, LS used to be a guy, like someone in Insight said all those years ago. If we brought him on in like 2016, they were like, who the fuck's this idiot? Get him off the block. What's going on here? What's going on? By the way, my mate Youngbuck won 6 of them motherfuckers in Europe. He can't even get a sniff at a real coaching gig. These guys are just fucking scorching everyone's mental in it. I don't know. And by the way, all I'm going to say is this. Maybe I shouldn't do it. No, you know what? It's an obvious joke no one ever made. I'm just going to say, I think you all overrated that Max Waldo one because it really was just Where's Waldo, wasn't it? Just fucking, that's all it ended up being. I'll just throw this out there as well. So this is one thing I don't get. I'd actually love to, maybe I'll get one interview and talk to him. But Mithy is the coach of Cloud9. Dude, I've always thought this guy was a brilliant mind for draft and for knowing like how to maximize his team. I don't know what that makes me feel because when I've talked to him, here's the problem, Monty. That's when he's a player in the team and he can convince people. I think his problem for real is, you know, the concept in sports of being a player's coach. Yes. Right? Fans think that's good because they love star players. You know, that's a death sentence. Players' coaches don't win the championship because they do what the players want. Yes. So I'm sorry, Monty. I think what happens there, when you're describing it, I'll give you my speculation. People like Fudge are the big voices, and then they get their pick, and then they get the draft set up, and then are you ready? They don't do anything in the game, and then the fan goes, well, it's not his fault. You don't know behind the scenes. Maybe it was all his fault. That's all we know. I'm just giving speculation. Obviously, I don't really know that. I'm just speculating.
Yeah, it's always hard to know, you know, who makes these decisions, but it just was the combination of the pick and the game plan was really just quite baffling in that instance. And like
by the way, you know the obvious thing to me? Here's the obvious thing I've learned from this Worlds. Not Rift rivals, but we need like IEMs. We need real tournaments that are mainly just the Western teams and maybe like one LPL team. If we had those, we'd all be loving like a best of 3 between like fucking Fnatic and Cloud9 in one of those tournaments where the implications are you can still come top 4. Like, in that tournament, I'd watch. You need parity, basically. What people don't understand in League is it's the gap that ruins it. It's when you see JDG drawn against, like, you know, fucking like BDS, you don't even think it's possible. You literally sit there and you can't even predict the way they could win the game. It's like there's no. Whereas I want parity is all I want. So I want, when you do it, when you do international tournaments, just give us like a Western one. Do an Asian one as well. Do like a one halfway through for Asian teams only. I would do that because I do want more series. I want more matchups like this. It's just at the moment they're bad matchups, you know. And I can't really believe whoever wins it. Like, and it's C9 against Fnatic. Well, whoever wins not doing anything. Who gives a shit? So I can't really get hyped for that, can I?
That's why play-ins was fun because they were actually playing for something. I enjoyed watching play-ins. I thought it was very entertaining.
Also, I'm just going to say this right now. This is a classic what Thorin take that gets everyone really upset. The way Gam reacted to beating Team Liquid shows you why this tournament is an abomination and Gam should never even be in the top 16. They acted like they just made the semis of Worlds, bro. They just didn't go 0-3. Spoiler, they're going 1-3 now. Like, I know, look, I understand you're going to go, but they're a small event. Then they shouldn't be in the main event because Rookie and Jackie Love are watching that going, can I get in the game, coach? If you don't know, by the way, guys, not only do you not know about Rookie, but Jackie Love is probably like a top 4 ADC in the world this year. He's fucking amazing this year. But sadly, this is the year where he got into it, so he didn't get to go. So it just kills me because, like I say, every other game, Dota, CSGO, if you're just good, you can qualify. You can make it from the circuit. You can make it through the qualifier. Leagues hamstrings who can be there, and then we end up with amazing players and teams sitting watching TL versus Gam.
Another world.
We'll let one go. We'll let one go.
No Rookie. I mean, his career arc by the end of his career is going to be such a tragedy. It's going to be such a tragedy.
Especially because here's the other thing, Monty. If you want to make it even more evil, just go back in time and have KT win Game 5 of the IG series. He'd have no worlds. He'd have made one quarters as a semis. If it wasn't for that one run on IG, there wouldn't even be the championship. It's actually sad. It's brutal, innit? It just shows how League. To me, here's my analogy. The real problem in League is this, Monty. You know, in Counter-Strike, you can make it an analog to the NBA because it is a game where individually you can carry, even if your team's playing like shit, in the same way as it doesn't matter who his teammates are. You throw Michael Jordan the ball and he can do whatever he wants. He's still Michael Jordan. It doesn't change who his teammates are, right? League is more like the NFL. If your team is shit, Like, Myles Garrett right now is unbelievable if you watch him in the NFL, Monty. His team has no chance to win the Super Bowl because they're the Cleveland Browns. Like, he can't win. But in this analogy, right, if you're a rookie, a fan doesn't get it, Monty. They don't get why he's not at Worlds. To them, if he really is like a GOAT candidate and he is as good as I say, why isn't he here? Because you don't know how badly other players can fuck the game up. I've always said the worst thing about League, it's what everyone in solo queue knows. You know when you're the fucking ADC and you farm perfectly and you get one kill, but then your top laner dies 5 times in a row, it's over. Your success cannot beat what that top laner on Jax is going to do to you. Whereas in the basketball analogy, I'm still Michael Jordan. I still can do what I want to do. So in this game, you can't. It doesn't matter how good you are. If your team fucks it for you or you're in the best region, you won't be at Worlds. It's brutal, but it's just the way the game works, sadly. And the formats, it's obviously the worst qualification format.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be rough. I think we probably should talk about G2 a little bit.
Let's do it.
Before we do
we can actually be celebratory. This is the one part we can be really awesome about.
Kind of
this shit.
But before we do that, we do have one more sponsor for you guys today, and that is going to be HelloFresh. They're back again. Thank you very much, HelloFresh. It's another product that I was using before we started this sponsorship. So it's something that I was genuinely very much enjoying. And so I was very happy also to get them to come on the show. And HelloFresh is a meal kit service. So you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes. They all get delivered to you in the refrigerated box with cold packs in it. And this is great. If you're an experienced cook like me, it makes it so you have a couple fewer meals to meal plan every week, and you can still have home-cooked, healthier versions of food. It's cheaper than doing takeout, and you get to expand your horizons. I've cooked recipes and learned stuff even as an experienced cook from following the recipe cards on HelloFresh. And most importantly, if you're learning how to cook, this is the best way to do it because you're not buying a bunch of extra groceries. You're not buying a bunch of extra ingredients. You can, look at the recipe cards. Very, very easy to follow. You only need a few things in your pantry. It's great. It's a very great service. If you have a nutty schedule, they've got very easy things that you can make that take like 20 minutes. I often have done that for lunch in the past, and everything is just really, really fresh. So if you guys are interested in trying this service, please go ahead and use our code. You can go to hellofresh.com/50LFN and use code 50LFN for 50% off plus free shipping on those orders. It does help us if you guys do use those codes. Obviously, it gives you, the bonuses as well. And they've got a bunch of extra like grocery kind of add-ons and snacks and a variety of different things. And the more meals you get per week, the cheaper each meal is. So getting, 3 or 4 can be very, very helpful. So that has been a great service. I would encourage you to use it. Better than eating takeout. I can tell you that for sure. And you'll learn a lot more from doing it. So thank you very much for HelloFresh and their sponsorship. And we can now talk about Gamers 2.
Here's the thing, Monty. If you want to learn how to cook, you got to have the right ingredients, but then put them together with the correct technique and understand what you're trying to create in the end. So just like HelloFresh, we now talk about G2 because you know what? It's now looking just like you can support Last Free Nation with HelloFresh. It's now looking like Europe's the last free nation. We've got G2 at least to make us go all the way through. Because actually, mate, I have to say, look, everyone's going to get overhyped like they did with the last lineup with the Ankos last year and Targamas, etc. Look, this obviously isn't G2 2019. I'll tell you what, it's a fucking good team. They actually are more than the sum of their parts. Like, think about how awesome the rundown is, mate. Like, Broken Blade isn't having any problems. He's looking fucking good. Yike is actually stepping up in games. Hans Sama looks awesome on all the picks. Caps is always overrated because he's never going to be old cap. He's still good. Mickey X, by the way. Doinby. Shall we do that one now? Shall I do my quick rant? Doinby is one of my all-time favourites, like Cloud Templar. In the game, genius. Outside of the game, Azale level takes. Doinby ranked all the players on G2 before this tournament, Monty. This motherfucker does not watch LEC.
Of course
he ranked all of them S+ or S, and then Mickey X was like S-. He was the worst player on the team, according to Doinby. Now, look, I know, Doinby, you mind-controlled your support to win Worlds, but this guy's making his own decisions, mate. He's actually doing some work. He can actually fucking get busy.
Yeah, people also criticize, I think, people are going to criticize G2, I think, a bit unfairly. Look, this is not a team that we expected to beat Gen G. That's obvious.
I actually think, no joke, didn't we talk about this? That's probably, for a Western team, I'd rather, this might sound mad, I'd rather have JDG than Gen G if I'm G2. I have no chance against Gen G. They stack the whole map against me. What lane do I win in? You know what I mean? Like, where do I get my edge?
It's very hard, I think, without a good sense of macro, to be able to beat Gen G when they're playing their own game. And here's the criticism that I've seen leveled against them, which I think is kind of preposterous, which is the following. Well, why did you let Delight have Rakan? Well, guys, they showed in LEC playoffs that they actually do have a very effective Rakan counter in the Lissandra support, the thing that only they play, so you can't practice against it. Not like Gen G, not like Gen G didn't know that was coming. I think, to Gen G's credit, they were very prepared for that pick, right? And that's why we saw the Sylas come out before the second round of bans in that draft, because, I mean, they kind of got baited into it in certain ways. But this was a counter pick that came in. They wanted to play with these things early on. They wanted to have an effective draft, and I think they did what they could. This was not a matchup that I think G2 went in thinking that they were going to win in a standard fashion.
Dude, how are we going to hate on them, like you say, for doing the counter only they had when we don't know the counterfactual? What if they played a meta pick and just lost the same way? Then you'd look like an idiot. Like, you had a cheese angle, because remember, no one ever thought G2 was going to play a straight-up league and just win 2-0. No. That was never happening. So I agree with you, Monty. This was the correct angle for cheese.
They also had a very well-designed level 1 strat in game 1, where they had the setup against Thorin, where, you know, Caps like rocket jumped into the bush while they had the flank in, and Thorin had to level leap strike and like escape the gank. It's unfortunate they couldn't blow a summoner, but this is the level of preparations. All the shit we said was great about G2 coming into this. Interesting counter picks that teams are not going to be accustomed to playing against, strong level 1 strategies. And what do you motherfuckers want from this team? They already beat both a Korean and Chinese team. Okay, the Weibo game was definitely ropey, but they pulled it off in the end, right? They ended up with the win. And this is a team that, by all accounts, they have beaten the 4th seeds from both LCK and LPL. They are very deserving of a quarterfinal spot. It's sad that they lost to Gen G, but by God, they should be able to beat NRG, and they should be able, I think, to potentially put up a decent fight. They should win, go 3-1. And if they aren't the unlucky team that draws JDG or Gen G again in the quarterfinals, if they can play a 3-2 team, they might have a shot at winning. They might have a legit shot at winning.
Yes.
So
yes,
it's good.
And like we say as well, because they'll be 3-1, you can get lucky and get the other 3-1 team. Like, you could actually be in a world where you get like T1. That's not impossible. Look, it's going to be hard no matter what, obviously. It's the top 8 of Worlds. You know, that's the thing, Monty. I keep telling people, but it hasn't ticked over because it takes time before people become acclimatized. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, they can't actually. Sorry, my bad. They can't draw Gen G or JDG because it's only the 3-2 teams. So
3-0s, they only play 3-2.
Yeah.
Well, they can lose to NRG and play them technically, Monty.
Let me put it this way.
They can lose to NRG and play them.
Yeah. So here's let me rephrase this. If they aren't the unlucky team that draws the other 3-1 team, which could be LNG, right, or KT, I think they're worse than those teams. So if they aren't the unlucky team that draws the other 3-1 team, there is an unlucky and a lucky draw here, guys. If they draw one of the 2-3, or one of if they draw the 3-2 team, then they're going to have a better shot. So this is a good team. They are a world-class team. They've shown that. We suspected that this was the case given their level of play coming in. And in the second game, I think the second game is less defensible. But you know what? They tried something different. They wanted to run with the Lucian. The Nautilus is a Rakan counter pick. They did get a kill in lane with the Lucian and Nautilus, so it seems to have at least been minorly effective. I think a lot of the problem was they did end up kind of lacking in terms of late game damage. A lot of the other lanes went down, but there's also the factor that Peanut just ran a jungle masterclass that game and had like 100% kill participation. And what are you expecting? Peanut is a top 2 jungler. It's him and Kanavi. I think basically everybody agrees that Peanut and Kanavi were the best junglers coming into Worlds.
They do this thing I'm sick of where if he chokes the big game, they act like he choked every game and it was never good. Like, I've seen people do this to Trophy until like this year with all the championships. Dude, they act like if you put they act like because they choke like the final of LCK that they're going to choke against like a European team. No, the joke is the reason Chovy and Peanut are so revered is because they've done everything except the thing that makes you the GOAT, basically. They're like this close to the end of it. So people do underrate these players. They take the flaw and exaggerate. Like they're doing it with G2 even, dude. So they lost to Gen G. Even though, yes, by definition, Damwon and Weibo are the most beatable of the LPL and LCK, they still took care of them. I saw a lot of other teams here, Monty, from the West, not take care of those teams. Look silly against those teams. G2 took care of those squads. They actually were the better squad and beat them both.
All I'm going to say is compare the G2 DPlus game to the fucking BDS DPlus game. Like,
yes.
This is a good team. This is a respectable team.
That's why you should be hyped.
They're
because
getting
in other years you won't get this, mate. Like if you remember, if this format was run how I want it with the seeding and reseeding, Monty, then logically you'd probably only have one Western team could get through because there's 8 teams from LPL, and they're probably going to be 3-2, which means they'll play a 3-0 team and they get smacked in the quarters. So in the future, to even make the quarters is the prize. Then you're hoping for a miracle to make you the semis. So just what you have to understand is this: it's not 2016. You can't do a H2K run to semis. You can't do a Cloud9 run. You can't do that. You actually have to essentially, like, these are the wins we have to celebrate. We actually have to give G2 their flowers now for what they're doing and then hope they get the right matchup. I'm with you.
I mean, look, there's a world where like Cloud9 beats Fnatic and then plays NRG wins, and then G2 draws NRG in quarters. That's a world. That is an option that is on our table currently, thanks to the Swiss, where G2 punches a relatively easy ticket. But here's something for you guys. I don't think it's out of the realm possibility that G2 could beat T1 in a semifinal matchup. Well, T1 could be a 3-2 team.
Yeah.
That could be a 5-game banger. That could be a 5-game banger, guys. Like, I think that it's unlikely they make semifinals, but the combination of a terrible last phase in Swiss where Cloud9 or Fnatic face NRG coupled with a quarterfinals draw, it could be okay.
Here's the reason why I'm going to already be the downer immediately, though. I know what you mean. If I make everything that goes like the way I want it to go, they could actually not only play T1, they could beat them, Monty. But sadly, here's what I think happens. If they play them, T1 just comes out with some like genius game 1 draft strategy, then wins like a normal game and then stops game 3 and it's 3-0. And everyone's like, what the fuck? It's like, as you say, T1 stomps people. They only look bad because they were playing KT and Gen G. They look fucking awesome against everyone else. As long as they're faker.
Yeah.
Then again, though, the joke there would be, Monty, that matchup also would be cancer on the Western broadcast. Can you imagine how they would talk about Caps versus Faker? You would think it was like 5 years ago for real. Like they would be making these guys sound like Knight and Chovy right now. Like, and then you'd watch the game and they'd both be like, I'm playing Oriat. No, I'm playing Oriat. You know, please. Why is it like
this? It's the power of the narratives, man. It's the power of the narratives, and we cannot deny that the Faker narrative is the bedrock of League of Legends viewership expectations. It is
the anime narrative, yeah. By the way, I even think here's what's low key cool. I'll give you you know what? I know my mistake now. Rather than punish someone, Monty, you reward the behavior you want to see. That's actually how you train animals and humans better than like the Prussian method of being harsh and being very punishing. So instead of just criticizing people for always overrating Faker in the second half of his career, which by the way has been fucking nonsense, and he's just fluked a bunch of LCK titles, had no worlds wins, and has never been close to the best mid laner. Here's the positive narrative for Faker. He's doing what is really cool in great sports and esports like CSGO, NBA, which is when you're the great team, Monty, but you're not as good anymore. You're not the dominant team. You've fallen off a little bit, but you still have the same pieces. If you are the truly great team, you might not always win like the championship anymore, but you can like steal series you shouldn't have. You can still like have a throwback game, or you have like a game where you suddenly like, oh, that's why they used to be so good. And you just take games you're not supposed. By the way, they did this in LCK. You win the game you're not supposed to win. You couldn't have actually won LCK, but tell you what, you beat KT, you fucking put them in the dirt, and they were supposed to be better than you. So the same thing. I think when people look at Faker's career, unless you're talking about pre-2018, he's not the GOAT in this part of his career. He's not the best mid laner ever. But it is sick that he can still play and have impact on the game. He can help other people carry the game. This is why the real tragedy is fucking Zeus being a shitter at all these tournaments. If he was like the true carry player that we want him to be, Faker probably could have got this guy a World Championship. You know what I mean?
They would have won Worlds.
Yeah, I agree.
Because honestly, it was the big time performers disappearing in that World's finals. I mean,
yes.
My God, dude, Zeus, you fucking got styled on by Kingen. Gross. That's just revolting. We talked about this before, but Zeus literally let Kingen get World's Finals MVP. Like that is a dark stain on your soul until the end of time. That is bad. That is bad.
Well, the most hilarious thing is that. See, here's what's great about that, though, Monty. That actually is what proves that it was an insane fluke. Because here's the thing, Monty. If it had been Zeke who got MVP, I could go, well, he is really good on those two champions, to be fair. If Death got it, he's one of the best players of all time. The idea in the same team with those players, it was fucking Kingen who's the MVP. That's essentially the fucking dead rat cherry on top of the shit cake by a bomb. Just file that whole one in the trash. Get out.
Okay. I think that about wraps up our conversation about the upcoming Swiss games, guys. As usual, just as an aside, if you haven't subscribed over to Last Free Nation Culture yet, we did in fact just drop the last film noir video with LA Confidential. Episode is an absolute banger with me, Richard, and Thorin. Very
the best
underrated
movie we've done so far.
Yeah, I think it's a really incredible movie. We're doing 90s action next, so if film noir wasn't your thing, go subscribe because we're doing Face Off later this week, which is...
I'm going to take his face off.
Which is,
you know what, I might even on my side channel, I might even do a video about Nicolas Cage, because I don't think people understand it. He is Weibo gaming. The ceiling's way higher than it should be, but the floor's crazy too. Like that is one of the most bonkers actors of all time, isn't it? Because it's like even he doesn't know if he's acting in a good movie or a bad one right now. Like he just doesn't know.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. No.
Dude, we'll talk about this, but I watched Face Off again, and like the first 5 minutes of that movie are so fucking absurd. I buy into it completely. Nicolas Cage is just
one of my favorite
funny.
moments in the whole movie, it's a low-key underrated one, is that one where because the cop guy is actually like now the Nicolas Cage character, the Castor Troy. It's when he has to like prove he's Castor Troy by taking all those drugs, and they bring like he gets out of prison, they bring that little like set of all drugs. He's like, oh shit, like that whole scene is so cringe because it's like basically it's like when you try a joint when you're like 16 at the house party, like you have smoked before, yeah. You're like what, you know, or like it's so fucking insanely acted. It's so ridiculous. It's so good. I love it. I fucking love it.
Everything.
And he has that like
movie.
stupid thing that goes on his knuckles, like. It's actually designed for real. This is where you realize John Woo's supposed to be in an Asian aesthetic because it's just pure cringe in the West.
Well, I just love how they put Nicolas Cage in the Asian aesthetic, even at the start of the movie when they put him in like those like red hexagonal glasses, and he has the golden dragon money clip that is straight out of a Hong Kong triad movie. I'm like, no white guy would.
No, it's the shit though, isn't it? I know. And then obviously, without saying anything more, we've referenced it a million times on Best Damn League show this year. Obviously, just the whole peach, I could eat a peach for hours dialogue. But even though we made it sound shit, watch it. It is fun.
It is actually really fun. The thing is, it's actually a good movie because it plays by its own internal rules very well.
The premise is genius, by the way.
And the premise is
amazing.
Yeah. Premise is amazing. All right. Well, if you want to hear more of us, that'll be out next week. So just prepare yourselves for that more. It's more of that conversation with our editor, Danian, doing a wonderful job of like finding the clips and like putting them in there. So it's even funnier. We're going to take a quick break and then we will be back for viewer questions. See you in a couple.
Right. We are back for viewer questions. If you don't know, the way you participate in viewer questions is not, unlike the name, by actually watching on Twitch, because obviously most people are going to watch this on the VOD or listen on Spotify, where you can also get this available as a video. That's just how you do segues and sort of plugs. But the way you do it is you subscribe to our Discord, which gives us a very nice, healthy cut, which helps support us. And obviously, that's why we then give you like an hour or so of answering all sorts of questions. Half of them are like, as I always say, basically people getting Monty to do their English literature homework and you're asking me stuff like, right now, off the top of your head, name the top 5 players to ever be in top lane ever. Like, and then I have to, and then you do it. So it's all fun. It's all the fun of the farms. That's it. And also, I sometimes do things like say light players for LNG, and then you morons go, he's not even on LNG. He was on LNG for fucking years, you morons. The joke is I know the LPL too well, and then I made a brain fart. So anyway,
all right.
But now, like fucking Dali, you're all just going to worship Gala. That's straight fire fucking reference. You don't even know it, fans. Whatever. It was pretty good.
All right. Similar to Killers of the Flower Moon, what is a real-world event do you feel would make an excellent film, and why? Well, clearly, Aaron Sorkin was put on God's earth to make the FTX movie that will inevitably come out at some point in time. Just feels like that is destined to happen. And honestly, the whole Sam Bankman-Fried FTX thing is one of the more interesting things in recent memory that could be converted into a great film, I think.
I think there's loads of things. Like, first of all, if I can cheat, because technically sports is real life, Monty. Like, one I can't believe they haven't done, even if not like an officially licensed one, even if you just did it where it was like you just do the analog of that person. How has no one made a sports movie about the Kobe versus Shaq dynamic where you're like winning while hating on each other and arguing over who they That would be an incredible fucking sports movie. Like, forget Moneyball, Wimbledon. That would shit on them all if you cast it right. Then if you want to do real life things, Monty, obviously there already was a Napoleon movie. Go watch the old Waterloo one with Orson Welles and that guy. But obviously there's the one coming up. Essentially, I think those are the movies you need to make. You need to make movies where it's like the legendary figure. So I would pick someone like, he was technically in 300, but in a shit way. I would do a movie about like the Persian Empire and like King Xerxes and shit. People don't know these guys ran game over the whole world. How about a movie about Genghis Khan? Like a full-on one where you go hardcore into it. Yeah, and you try to show like how insanely
not the
like
Conqueror guys.
No,
not the one from the 50s.
no, I'm talking about doing like a full-on one with proper like graphics, massive fight scenes. Because another thing I'll tell you right now, Monty, people make this meme, and it's true, that like CGI has gotten worse. I'll tell you what I would love. Do you remember the scenes before the Battle of Mordor where you see the battles and it's like the armies? It's like, I want to see that before a Genghis Khan one. And you just ride into battle. Or the Persians where they claimed they had like 1 million men or whatever. I want to see that battle. That's what I want to see.
How about the Hannibal movie where he invades Rome by taking his elephants over the Alps and fights them at Cannae? How about that one? How come we don't have that one?
I think there's loads of historical epics they haven't even done. Yeah.
Let's move on. Wanted to say the Culture Channel is amazing. It is. Really enjoy it. It widens my horizons a lot. My question, though, is what other must-see/read noir material do you guys recommend? Okay, I like this question. Really enjoying it at the moment from the movies you covered and want to do a deep dive into it. Well, we talked a lot about Double Indemnity, which Richard and I both really like from that period. If you want other media, play LA Noire, the game. LA Noire is a fucking amazing game. LA Noire is so amazing. The Australian studio that made that game basically ruined all of the developers' lives because the crunch was so insane, because they literally took pictures from 1940s Los Angeles and recreated Los Angeles so you could just drive around in the game and it looks like the 1940s. And they have excellent, like, fun noir stories. It is an incredible game. Also, if you like graphic novels, The Fade Out, which is Ed Brubaker. Thorin got me turned on to Ed Brubaker.
Sort of Ed Brubaker's stuff is sort of like noir tech stuff.
Yeah, but The Fade Out is literally a 1940s film noir story.
That's a homage, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And so The Fade Out is great. The Fade Out is great.
In a way, it's a comic book that has nothing to do with superheroes. He's intentionally writing it outside of the genre. So it's not Spider-Man. It's like Monty says, it's a film noir. By the way, I forget the name, but Richard even mentioned on one of the episodes, literally, it might be on this one, he mentions a book that's about like noir type stuff or whatever that was like really good, apparently. I mean, I can just give you some we didn't do that from the list. Like, I'll give you some like modern and some old ones if you want to watch them. So there's a modern movie. It has that Joseph Gordon-Levitt guy called Brick, which is sort of like a modern independent neo-noir, which is kind of a cool story. If you've never seen the movie Inherent Vice with Joaquin Phoenix, believe it or not, that P.T. Anderson, that's how I know he's a genius. He managed to actually film a fucking Pynchon novel and make it really good. Like, it has the disorientating element of a Pynchon novel with psychedelic sort of components, and you're not quite sure what the character. It's brilliant. You can go through the fucking list. What are the old other ones for? like real noir. Like, what are the other classic ones? We did Double Indemnity.
The Big Sleep.
The Big Sleep's probably, I think it's actually my favorite of the Bogart ones. What else is there? Vertigo, obviously. Now, I will say, people will go, it's a great film, but it's a bit experimental, but it's just such an unusual film. Like, if you could know what that film was to be like when it came out, it is sort of like some visual representation of LSD or something mad, for the 50s or whatever it is. So, no, there's a lot of really good movies in that. If you want other modern day ones for neo-noir, Memento by Christopher Nolan, because Christopher Nolan's so huge. How many people haven't seen that? It's mega. I think actually I put one on here. Sin City's great. The graphic novels are mega on that, by the way. The art is incredible. There's a movie that a lot of people haven't seen that has Val Kilmer in called The Salton Sea, which is a really interesting one about a guy who has to go undercover in like a meth community around the Salton Sea, which is that area, if people don't know, that was a sea, but now it's like because it was salt, it's all sort of dried out. And it's a really out there movie. It has Vincent D'Onofrio in as well. So yeah, there's some brilliant movies in this genre to watch. It's actually a very underrated genre, is neo-noir or film noir itself.
We would have look. We had a tough choice in this one because we had 4 movies over an actual 50-year time span, and we tried to get in as it turned out that those movies actually connected to each other really quite well, but that was mostly accidental. I mean, as you'll see in the LA Confidential one we released, we were really glad we did the movies we did in the sequence we did them, because all roads kind of led to LA Confidential at the end, but that was more circumstantial than actual clever planning on our part, but it worked out really well.
By the way, I've got a question. Being as you are a Bogart and a noir fan, I have a question for you in this sense, which is, which of the other sort of 50s ones that people don't watch as much actually are, like, what do you pick? Like, for example, you're going to pick something out of The Big Caper or fucking Sunset Boulevard or something.
Sunset Boulevard's very good.
There's a million of them.
Sunset Boulevard's like if you really want that era, like The Glass Key is another one. Sunset Boulevard.
The Third Man. How about that? There's a banger for you. The Third Man.
Yeah.
Kiss of Death. There's loads, yes.
I mean, there's so many. But yeah, I also would recommend some of those other forms of media. You could also just go back and read the books, because I will tell you right now, I've read The Big Sleep.
Go read the Raymond Chandler books.
Yeah, right. Go read Raymond Chandler. Like, if you read The Big Sleep, you will find that it is very different because of the Hays Code than the actual Big Sleep movie. I mean, that... Right. It does have the all of the taboo elements that they couldn't put in film. It's kind of hilarious how they tried. I think The Big Sleep is fine on its own, but it's quite. They definitely had to finesse it. Let's say
infer it. Yes. Anyway, I will say as well, if you like the true noir movies of the 50s, that's probably the most consistent genre. Like, they actually nailed the formula. They did a lot of films in that. But I think it's actually one where if you like one or two, you're probably gonna like 10 or 15 of them.
Yeah. But I definitely play LA Noire. I think LA Noire is a fucking banger game. I think it's great. When Thorin tweeted out Rafa winning the Quake Championship 2023, a reply posted a video of Rafa talking to Carmack through his 2010 ESL win. As someone not familiar with Quake, this was an incredible resource to A, learn about the game, and B, understand the mindset of an elite player. LFN is to create a professional confessional, a video series where an LFN cast member is walked through a historic game clip by a pro, weaving in a few questions throughout. For your inaugural episode, you must choose one guest plus moment combination to have on from both LoL and CSGO. No constraints. We have translators. P.S. Please turn this concept into reality. It would be awesome. I would love to do this kind of stuff. I think you have to do... Look, if you're a League of Legends fan, is there any more pivotal moment than Faker's first game in League of Legends and the incredible debut that he had and the run that set him on? You could pick his first champion, too, which they came back in summer with a reverse sweep. But either of those games, I would be very interested to hear Faker's reflections on his thoughts going into that moment, how he had prepared for that moment, what the moment meant to him in the end, taking out Ambition and Blaze in the way that they did. It would be utterly fascinating.
It's the thing, Monty. Did it say he has to win the game?
No, of course not. Anything you want.
Then here's the one I want to find out what Faker's thinking throughout the whole game. Game 5 EDG MSI 2015. He picks LeBlanc. I want to see his thoughts in draft. In the game, he plays. I've told people this. I did a video about this. He gets ahead in the game. He's killing people, but his team in. So I want to know, what's he thinking? What? Like, for example, here's what I would love to know, Monty. Since he was unbeatable on LeBlanc, what was he even thinking when the game was getting out of control? Was he like, right, I'll have to try and get a pick on this guy, or I'm going to try and express this? That's what I'd love to know. There's a league one for you. CSGO, there's a lot you could pick from for that one. Like, I'm trying to think what I would maybe do for that one. All right, I'll give you one where I think people might remember this. The first major after the online era, the PGL Stockholm one, was the one where G2 made the finals and lost to Navi. But a lot of people forget G2, the way they played, was probably supposed to lose in the semi-finals to Heroic. And on the third map, Inferno, Nico and like Hunter and a bunch of the other G2 just played lights out. They just win a bunch of rounds. You should never win. They're winning 2vx's. I'd love to get Nico and ask him like that game, like what was going on, like what was in your head, like how were you combating them? Like that would just be it's a banger match. It's one of the most like forgotten classic games ever. Go watch that semi-final. It's a banger.
I do appreciate that Riot has done a little bit of this with the replay files, but obviously they're constrained by the players they have in North America to do that. But it is shocking that more tournament production has not gone into making this kind of content. Feels like it's incredibly free.
Especially because, like you say, the person who has the best crack at this isn't us. It's actually the TO. Like, yes. LCK could just ask Faker and they'll probably do it. They just don't have the ambition to do it. LCS could just say to Doublelift, can we do this game where you like beat TSM finally on Shield? You know what I mean? They could just get these done. We have to like the problem with that one is it's really hard to set the player up to do that. The other problem I'll throw in as well is this. The mistake there is Carmack, I have an insane memory, guys. Carmack made that video not long after that final. And I think he let Rafa pick the game. But the difference is, if you asked Faker now about like 2015, the joke is you'd have to coach him to even remember the bloody game. It was in 2015. He's played 1 million games. So, you know, I'll give you a little bit of behind the curtains here, Monty, that people never understand. You know, there's idiots that complain that I talk too long in the interview questions on Reflections, the greatest interview series in the history of this field, while dickheads like you vote fucking Ashley Kang. Guys, what questions shall I ask at my only job? You give that person journalist of the year. No, I only do 50 banger interviews, all the greats of all time. When I tell them that, you go, is he talking? Because I'm actually secretly coaching the player on what happened before he answers the question. And then you were in the semi-finals, Nico. And remember, a lot of people thought at the time maybe Heroic was the better team, but you got behind her. I'm saying that because for real, that's making Nico remember the moment, and now he can answer the question. Like, so the real issue is, I essentially, the Rafa one was a very extreme set of circumstances that I don't think you could recreate in a lot of the other ones. A lot of the players don't have that sort of mind for it. And it's a 1v1 game, so he has remember of the whole game. In any team game like these ones, there's things that they didn't even see their teammates POV. They don't know what he was doing at that bomb site or why the guy did this in top lane that drew the jungler, you know. So it would just be a bit trickier. I like the idea though. It is a brilliant idea in concept, yeah.
Next question. Do you think the death of Superman broke comics? This is a Thorin question. How would you better resolve death revival issues when the protagonist always has plot armor? You're a big Superman fan.
Basically, yes, the premise, if people don't know, is this. Because at the time, the perception was you've done everything with Superman. Well, the one thing you haven't done, because except for Kryptonite, he can't die, right? Is you haven't killed him, right? So they realized it was the 90s or whatever. The way you can make the sales go crazy is just kill Superman and then keep it uncertain. Is he ever coming back? And then they even did this thing where he sort of came back, split in two. One was like an energetic blue one. And so the real problem, it's why he says it broke comics, is because it made it so that you started to do it where you did kill all these characters off, but then they always come back to life somehow later on, and you bring them back because they're money makers. So it means the death doesn't mean anything. I would give the analogy to like Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. I think bringing him back for real as a human was one of the stupidest moves ever. Look, I hated when he died like that in the show. It was so fucking like horrible for the storyline, but it was powerful as fuck. The fact he came back later undercut the whole thing. It basically meant that I tricked you. Ha, tricked you. Well, once you've done that, death doesn't mean anything. You've actually violated like a core concept that you're supposed to have. So either just make it is fictional, therefore they never die because it's fictional, or if it's real, then if you kill them, you have to actually commit to kill. Here's the thing. I won't say forever. 10 years. How about that? 10 years you have to kill them for. You can't bring them back a couple of years later and go, but he's back. He's back. So in a way, it did, because essentially it just spawned this thing that they do now, where what you do in comics, is you have this stupid idea of the continuum, but anytime you like, you can reset it using those world events, and you can bring a character back, you can reset, and you can start, you reboot a character, and it's just a bit whack. I do think it's a bit lame.
They also turned Superman into a blue electricity guy there for a while.
That's it. How stupid. Look it up. When you even see the suit, Monty, it's aged so badly. If you just Google image search, like
it
Superman
looks so
blue,
late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes.
Like,
it looks like the guy who created it literally had cocaine under crumbs under his nose, Monty. Some of those reflective ski glasses. And he was like, radical, man. This is going to be cowabunga. Like, get the fuck out of the fucking studio. This is my life, motherfucker.
What are the most prestigious hobbies? So here, I think that this question is just wrong. I don't think there are the most prestigious hobbies. Here's what I like about people's hobbies. I like people to be utterly fucking dedicated to their hobbies. I want to meet, I think almost any hobby can be prestigious or interesting if you are psycho enough to be a master at it. You know what I mean? If you have really done the deep cut, because honestly, people who have very like surface level knowledge or understanding of a broad variety of topics are far less interesting to talk to than that one guy who knows everything about some super obscure topic. So I think any hobby can be prestigious as long as you go deep enough into it. You can bring the prestige through your own dedication and knowledge of a topic.
To me, the answer is anything that's either an art or it's something like it's a very high level of execution. So like, for example, like fencing, dancing, singing, playing a musical. I think these are mega because not only do they do something to you, but then you can actually share that gift with the world and people around you.
Or even just
if you read a comic,
reading,
chances are just you enjoyed that, you know.
Even just reading deeply.
Joke. If people don't know, anyone who tells you Kanye West, a certain guy in Romania who tells you books are rubbish, are morons. Almost every billionaire, the number one thing they do every day is read for hours and hours and hours. As many books they can get on every topic.
Yep.
And there's a great line. I mean, you've probably heard it before where it says something like, you know, the man who doesn't read lives one lifetime. The man who reads like a lot, can live 1,000, basically, you know.
Yeah. I mean, especially because we live in an era unlike any other in human history where you can download any fucking book ever. It's not even hard to find obscure books anymore because they've been digitized almost every time. Effectively. Yes. Like you live in a world of infinite books and infinite information. Like you put the Library of Alexandria to shame, one of the pinnacle, you know, creations of its era. And you have access to that for basically free. So it's your own fault if you're not fucking interesting right now.
You know this. We all said it. We all did it, guys. Don't worry. We all said the same rhetoric. We all said, I'm not going to get the electronic reader because I prefer the feel of a book in my hands. Until you realize that I go on a plane with 300 books in my fucking tiny thing that is very light. That can't be beaten. Those Kindle, it's OP as fuck. It's actually probably, no joke, probably the greatest ROI investment you could ever make. Bear in mind, they're like, what, 20 euro or something, and you just put 300 books on there. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
I mean, the combination of that and YouTube, you could basically know or learn anything these days. So if you suck,
I'll give you an example.
If you suck, the only reason you suck is you.
Oh, it does. I've been to events in CSGO where Semler, who's a big reader, I would be at the airport and I'd be like, oh, I'm reading this mega book. He would, in the cafe, download it as we speak, and then he read it on the plane. That's OP. Take use of the tech, people. It's insane.
Yeah. Nobody likes the fucking Kindle as much as they like a book, but the Kindle has other advantages for sure. I just use both. Yes. And yeah, you can too. I don't know if you guys saw the Swiss stage draw show, but I thought it was hilarious that to show that draw wasn't rigged, they took suggestions from the crowd to randomly switch the orders of the bags, but then Mata ends up choosing whatever bag he wants anyway. Yeah, I mean the argument is they could have coached Mata to take specific bags. So if Riot did want to rig it, the draw was extremely riggable. What are the worst potentially rigged or suspicious moments in sports / esports? That, for example, the Patrick Ewing frozen envelope in the NBA. I don't know what that is.
Let's just do sport. Oh, basically, I'll tell you what that one is. When the draft was coming up for Patrick Ewing to be the number one pick, the Knicks, right? Everyone wanted the Knicks to get him, who did. And so what they claim is that the way they rigged it is when you reached in for the envelope to get your pick, that one of them had been frozen. So when you felt it, you knew that was Patrick Ewing, and then the Knicks got him or whatever. I don't even know if that's true. It's an interesting one. To me, the obvious ones go like this. This is why you Brady stans will never get it. The reason why I think Bill Belichick is the GOAT is because I think he is unbelievable at every aspect of coaching and making teams and defense, but he's also an outrageous, fucking egregious, unethical cheater. Bro, he actually, no joke, you can make a case he cheated in all 3 of the first Super Bowl titles of the Patriots. Like, it's insane. Like, I'd forget which order it is. One of them was the Spygate, and he saw them play. I think it was maybe the Rams. He saw the players. So the greatest show on turf wasn't the greatest show on turf because he saw the players. Another one was one where it's like something similar, like, you know, they get some calls with it. Like, the amount of cheating is unbelievable from that guy. It's unfucking believable. So he's got to be one of my top ones of all time. Is there any ones from sports that stand out to you? Because we're not going to do esports, because spoiler, I've got in trouble from that in the past.
Yeah, we know too much about esports. We can't. A lot of the stuff we know isn't even public, frankly.
Oh, exactly. I mean, here's the sad thing, Monty. All I'll say is I hinted at this when I did a video, but like, there's a reason I don't like from JDG, but I don't think it's necessary time to say that. But I might do it one day. I might just come out one. Basically, if I quit esports, but I'll just get fucking Jack Daniels and tell you all. But for now, you'll just have to wonder why I don't like him. You just have to wonder.
Yeah.
Is there any other sports ones you think were cheating though? Some crazy.
I think the NFL one is probably the one that, especially the stuff with
some goals are egregious, aren't they?
Yeah, that I know more about. I mean, there's obviously like classic ones like.
I'll give you one. I'll give you a couple from. Oh, go on. What was the classic one you were going to say?
Well, I mean, recently, like the Houston Astros and like the trash can hitting in the World Series, where they had like broken the code on the calls, and so we're telegraphing by hitting that trash can with the baseball
like
bats in the dugout. That was pretty egregious.
I mean, I'll give you a couple that I think people forget about. So one of the best fighters of all time at his weight was Jose Aldo, sorry, because he's not Mexican. Jose Aldo, because he's Portuguese. Right? Jose Aldo, when he was fighting Chad Mendes, was about to get taken down, and he just held onto the cage like that and didn't get taken out. And then 1 second later, knocked him out. If you don't know, that's literally cheating. You're not allowed to hold on the cage like that. So I hate shit like that, basically. Cheating. Another one is like, when people do that thing where they pretend they got like kneed when they're a downed opponent in the UFC, but they didn't really. Like, I hate all that shit. I think it just ruins the sport, unfortunately. Sadly, at least in that one, Monty, do you know what's funny? You can make a way better case for why you should cheat in mixed martial arts than in American football. In mixed martial arts, the guy might kill you. Like, I'm trying to stay alive, mate. I'm not trying to let him just destroy me. The other one's just a bloody game. You know what I mean? Like, the other one's just a game. So whatever.
Last year, Thorin made it.
Yes, I'll give you one more. I'll just throw one more up there. It technically wasn't cheating by the player, but one of the all-time best NBA Finals games was in 1988. It was in Game 6, and the Pistons were about to beat the Lakers and topple them, and they were the dynasty at the time. And Isaiah Thomas, in the third quarter, on a broken leg, scored like 20 points, Monty. And then at the end of the game, which was really close, the refs called a phantom foul against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like on him as he got the free, and the Lakers won on free throws, went to Game 7, won the championship. Like, that's one of those ones where I'll just say it right now, because like David Stern ain't coming out the grave to fucking sue me. I think they just rigged it to make the Lakers win, mate. I don't think they wanted the Pistons to win.
Last year, Thorin made a video on Jensen titled "The Prodigal Son Returns." Which player do you think has the best prodigal son narrative, where they returned to a previous team and found greater success? Deft, DRX, right?
Because he was in DRX switchover. Yes, true. People forget it's a different squad.
He was both. So remember, Kingzone, Dragon X, and DRX are also the same team. He was on Kingzone, Dragon X. They changed their name to DRX. He went to Hanwha, and then he came back to DRX and fucking won Worlds on DRX. That seems like one of the top ones. It has to be.
It's pretty good. There's not that many, actually. I'm trying to think what's a really good prodigal son return, though. Oh, an obvious one would be Carrigan going back to FaZe Clan. He came back to FaZe Clan and then won the Grand Slam and the Major and made them number one. And he was like, everyone thought that was the one move that never happened again. So there's a good one.
Yeah, there's a good couple. I'm a fan of Victorian literature after taking a class about that period. So curious if you knew about the Bronte sisters. I mean, yes, I do. Enough to rank them as authors by their works. If not, then I'd like to know what English literature you enjoyed during that era. So this would be late 19th century literature. So this would be like Wuthering Heights, I guess, if we're talking about the Bronte sisters. I mean, it's fine. So it would be like Dickens. I guess Kipling probably falls into that. It's specifically British literature. I'm not going to lie. This isn't like my favorite period of literature.
In theory, you could also pick like Edgar Allan Poe or something, couldn't you? You know, there's something out there. It's not. I don't care about this era at all, man.
So Victorian, I think, technically is just British literature.
Oh, it has to be. I thought you just meant the era. Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise, look, my personal take is that American literature,
all that shit. Yeah,
American literature was kind of more banging during this period. In my opinion, I'm not a huge fan. of that. Like, because I mean, you have to remember that when the Bronte sisters and like Charles Dickens were active, we also, so I think, obviously, my name is MonteCristo, I think Dumas is better than Dickens as far as popular authors go, and he was also active during this period. And I think Moby Dick was the single best book written during this period. That was American. So I don't know. It's okay.
I know what my answer is. My answer is just going to be Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories. There you go.
That's a great choice.
And also, if you're a Zoomer, the stories are very short. You can just read like one story at a time. They're not super long.
Yeah. I like the romantic poetry prior era to Victorian a little bit better. So.
I'm just checking what year this was. Technically, you could also have Frankenstein, Monty. That's 1818, apparently, so it's a pretty good book. It's actually quite readable. Ah, okay. Apparently, it's the year after. Apparently, 1819, she was born, so I can't have that one. Okay, they got me on that one. They got me on that one.
So I think the Victoria reign technically was like 1840s. I guess maybe 1830s. Okay. So I'd have to start then. Whatever. It's mid. Did you guys read Calvin and Hobbes growing up? I absolutely did. I fucking adore Calvin and Hobbes. I was of the age that I would like wake up in the morning and read it in the newspapers. I think it is the best like newspaper comic that's ever been made. It is uniquely charming. As a kid, I really identified with it. There is a lot of magic, I think, in Calvin and Hobbes. And also fucking mega shout out to Bill Watterson, who never sold out, never let anybody do with anything with his IP, never turned it into an animated show. And after 10 years, he was just like, I'm done. And then he just lived his life. He didn't make it last until the end of time. He had a beautiful fucking oeuvre of work. And now he just does watercolor pictures in a house in Ohio, chilling and not making. He probably could have made hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion with the Calvin and Hobbes empire. He didn't fucking do it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that man's obvious.
Insanely good.
I was never a Calvin Hobbes reader. I've only read it a few times. Didn't vibe with me. The obvious one for me is Peanuts. I think Peanuts is one of the best of all time. Sure. It's mega consistent. And what I'll say is this: if you're someone who ever suffers from depression, anxiety, just feeling down, feeling like a doomer, like the world's, pick up a fucking Peanuts book. There's no darkness in there. It's all just like fucking, it's so like safe, fun. It's well written. There's actually story arcs, but at the same time, there's one-off story. It's fucking mega. It's a really good one.
Yeah. Same thing with Calvin and Hobbes. Actually, I think when I was like 7 or 8, this was when Calvin and Hobbes was still in the newspaper. Spaceman Spiff was actually one of my childhood Halloween costumes. So there are pictures of me floating around. So I was a huge fan. I was a huge fan as a child. It was, I think back very fondly to that period of my childhood.
Here's the thing, Monty. I actually do think Peanuts holds up though. Whereas the difference is, when I was a pleb, aka a child, I'm not going to do that. When I was a child, I did childish things. But I used to think Garfield was good. I now understand I was a child. I was a child at the time, okay? I was a child, okay? Yeah. Oh, I would never read that, obviously.
By the way, just as a banger, there's like a Twitter account that's Garfield without Garfield, which makes it seem like the most depressing shit on earth, where they like Photoshop Garfield out as just like John talking to a wall, and it is so funny. It's insanely nihilistic. But yeah, that Garfield is garbage. Garfield is garbage.
By the way, speaking of the joke I made earlier, I've got a mad thing I saw online. This is where, here's the problem, Monty. I don't know if you know this, but I don't think actually pranks that I mean are funny. I think a prank has to be totally harmless for it to be funny, right? So this isn't something I would recommend anyone do. I actually think it's fucked up, but it was vaguely funny. Someone did in the modern day, Monty, because of how advanced printers are. They took a Where's Waldo book, scanned it in, digitally removed Waldo, printed it out, and made a book again. They gave it to their kids. It's going to take them forever. There is no Waldo. It's funny as an idea, but don't do it for real. Come on. You're going to give them trust issues forever.
Worst rebranding, Dom1 to D+, or Twitter to X. Dom1 to D+ is really bad.
Mate, I'm calling this right now. Twitter is a shit name. X isn't even offensive. It's neutral. Yeah, that's how you know people are just on some like stupid shit. All of the motherfuckers who told me I'm off to Threads, guys. Why are you still on Twitter then, dickhead? Yeah, exactly. Give me a break. That's not even that bad a name. It's totally fine.
Yeah, I don't think the name really matters. Rank the following Western ADCs individually in their primes: Doublelift, Reckless, and Forgiven. Well, I think Forgiven probably had the peak.
Oh, in terms of like, we're not talking, just prime. Oh, I think prime. If people don't know, in his prime for real, while he was still good, in scrims, Forgiven has done stuff like just heads up beat Wei Zhao. For real. I mean, if people don't know, the saddest thing of all, Monty, is all those stories where there was 2 or 3 times Forgiven almost came to NA, but the stupid GMs kept cocking him and telling him you have to do a trial or play for your spot with like some NA player, so he wouldn't come. He could have been on CLG, I think maybe on like fucking Team Liquid or something. It's outrageous the teams he could have been on, mate. So I think Forgiven number 1. Number 2, it's hard because here's the thing. I always thought Reckless's quality was consistency and being like the cleanup ADC, whereas Doublelift was more the hard carry ADC. But at the same time, it's hard on that one. They were both very good in their prime.
Yeah, I think though the problem is like Reckless is not a player that you rank based on his peak. You rank on average form.
Korea,
it was definitely better than both Doublelift and
he wins this easily,
and Forgiven on. What's your favorite esports content to make? Well, the content we're doing at LFN is pretty great right now. We're trying to build this company on the content that we like to make.
I mean, I like to make those short videos, like the Deft one and the fucking one about Jensen. That sort of short ones I like to do.
Been listening since 2015. Finally able to support LFN myself. Thank you. And thank you for all the content. As Worlds is happening, I was thinking back on previous years. In 2020, Fnatic went up 2-0 against Top in quarterfinals, only to get reverse swept. While that team was one snarky, self-made, or reckless comment from imploding, could they have beaten Suning in the semifinals? Yeah, that was a weird year because, like, Suning should just not have made the finals, but they weren't that good. It's just the problem was it got into a very weird LPL versus LPL, like, fiesta, and Top lost. But neither team played like they did. You know, it's like this year when we saw GAM play against Wales. I thought Wales was the better team, but for some reason they just inted versus GAM in the domestic matchup, right? And I thought we saw the same thing. I made the comment at the time that it was very similar to that series in particular. So I do think it may have been possible for them to beat Suning, because I think Suning was just a worse team against the field.
I don't think they would have, and here's why. First of all, the part no one ever mentions about that series that is criminal is the fucking Yuyanjia guy in the support was so agreed. That was almost match fixing levels of dog shit, the way he played that game. And then I'll just say this. The problem you have is the 2 players who were the carry players at the time that you're hoping to have is obviously Bwipo top lane and Reckless ADC. They'd be going against Bin and Huafeng, who at the time were having monster fucking tournaments. And then for jungle, Selfmade was actually carrying some of those games. Mate, SOFM is a mad underrated jungler. This guy was very intelligent. Like, I think unfortunately he would have run rings around fucking thing. It's just because that was Karsa. Karsa he can fuck the game up. So SOFM, I think, would have outbrained Selfmade. So I think they wouldn't have won anyway. I wouldn't worry about it.
Personal top 5 league casters of all time. I assume this is...
By the way, this is because of my video, isn't it?
I was going to say, that's exactly. You just made a video about Atlas being the greatest.
Gotta be. By the way, here's the thing. We'll do it like overall. We'll do play-by-play and color. So, like, give me some of yours. Who are the obvious names to you?
I think Atlas is way up there. I think, honestly, Cadril after this last year. Deficio. Who else? I'm trying to make a short list right now. I mean, Jat's longevity. Smithy. Yeah, Papa Smithy. Jat's longevity is super good. Obviously, we're not going to do me on here. I mean, Doa, super underrated.
Joe Miller, if we're going old school.
Dude, Joe Miller actually is maybe one of the most naturally talented casters I have ever seen. His just raw talent is crazy.
Let me see. I'm just going to do mine quickly. All right, here's my top 5. I'm going MonteCristo number 1. If you were there, you were there. If you weren't, suck a dick. Number 2, I'm going to go Jat. I've always said, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's very good. Number 3, I'll go Papa Smithy. I thought his consistency was absurd. Never did a bad cast in his life.
Very big professional, too.
Number 4, Deficio. I just thought he made, in my opinion, Quickshot brought the entertainment and the pizzazz. Deficio made the actual analysis legit. I mean, I also could have put Kreppel there, but obviously for obvious reasons, we tend to not remember him. And then I'll go number 5, Atlas. I actually think Atlas is just a very good caster. Like I said, look, dude, I made this point in the video. He's now casted in Korea longer than you. It doesn't feel like that should be possible.
Oh, yeah.
He's done like 5 or 6 years now, but it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. No, he's lived in Korea longer than I ever lived in Korea. I actually was out at dinner with him the other night. Had a great time. Also, just like, honestly, the nicest human being ever.
I don't know if you said him, but obviously Captain Flowers can go on the list from you. I don't like him, so fucking...
I like Captain Flowers.
It's not 5. He'd be like my 8th best or whatever. There you go.
That's still good. There's been a lot of casters in League of Legends.
Of all time.
I mean, I think I love Papa. I love Atlas. I love Deficio, I think, and Jat has to be up there. Jat's just, these guys have all been the consummate professionals, and I think Doa was incredibly underrated. I think Doa had a very special ability to make you have fun in games that sucked. And I think he is literally the best person in esports history at making shit games fun, period.
I'll give you one name that no one would put on the list, but this is why I'm here, Monty. If you want a sleeper pick, Clement Chu, LPL, LMS. This guy knew his shit.
Yeah, there are a lot of good casters, though. This is not to slight other casters. There have been a lot of good casters in League of Legends. I think Kadrill was definitely getting there. It's just, I think Kadrill did a really good job.
He did a couple of years is the problem, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't necessarily have the
in my opinion, like year 3, 4, 5 is when you hit your stride, You're not going to be your best in year 1,
Yeah. Yep. So I think
anyway, one last question, though. Here's the thing, Monty. Don't do this bullshit where it's like, no, I can't say myself. Muhammad Ali said he was the greatest ever. Are you in the top 5?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm number 1. Okay. Do you know me?
Checking. Okay, there you go. Okay, just checking. Making sure.
Because here's the thing, Thorin. When I was at like my peak in 2013 to like 2015, I definitely had the best game knowledge, and I was doing this. I was doing so many things. I was running like that Kadrill I Will Dominate Insanity schedule where I was also coaching CLG. I was watching all these other regions. I was casting 10 best of 3s a week. I was a fucking psychopath. And I did that because I wanted all the game knowledge I could have. And I was uniquely positioned in Korea in order to engage that. And the other thing that I have that no one else has is there is still not a desk moment more famous than one I did 10 years ago. 10 years ago. It's still the most famous on-camera moment in esports, period. So I have an acting background. So I brought showmanship that literally nobody else had at the time. And I had to do it all myself. Riot didn't set me up to do that. I did it without Riot knowing that I was doing it. So I innovated so hard.
So, give me a couple of thoughts. If people weren't there, obviously most of you weren't, in the early 2010s when Monty was doing the casting, you have to understand, it's like those stories of when you say, like, if a guy went back in time now, he'd be better. Monty had loads of the modern casting things. Back then, Joe Miller used to just use talent. He used to just use, I can talk very quickly and I never support myself. Other people, Quickshot's whole thing was, I just know all the names of the champions and all the abilities and all the fucking, like, that's gimmick to me. When Monty did it, one, as someone who wasn't a league person, he used to explain what patch we are on and what the champions are. That's standard now. That wasn't standard back then, Monty. They used to just cast the game. Then Monty would always outline, this is every NFL broadcast does this now, he would outline win conditions for both teams, how they can win this match, who they can play through. Then he would talk in the game about rotations. At the time, the perception was win lane, win game in a team fight. No, Monty would explain he will rotate off and help them on the bot lane. And then lastly, wave management to this day is barely understood. Everyone pretends they know it, but you never mention it on Gen G, you stupid motherfuckers. You just think Chovy wins. You don't know what the team does. So wave management is, I think, when I learned about that from people like you, N-rated, I was like, this is the most underrated concept in the game, mate. Chowster was right in season 2. The game isn't about fucking kills and barons. It's about fucking wave. It's about minions and lanes and towers, sorry. Minions and towers is what League of Legends is about.
Yeah, and also you can just watch my bangers only VOD reviews that I've been doing during Worlds, and I will show you dumb shit like where Genji teleports in lane and how they set things up, and it's all the stuff that's not even on camera, guys, and we can't see it because Riot refuses to give us replays. So yeah, it was a good time. I recently watched Thorin's video comparing Take Bang Lee Sang to the Big Four in tennis, which was very interesting, as that video is 6 years old now and the careers of the Big Four have continued to develop. Do you think any of those comparisons have changed, or would be different if you made that video now instead of 6 years ago? Do you remember this video?
With that is, I don't remember which players I just know that I made Andy Murray obviously stalk because he won the least, but he was really good and he would have won in another era. But I can't remember which order I made the rest in. So I would just do the modern one like this. Obviously, the player who's advanced the most is Djokovic because he sort of became the most well-rounded player ever. So he'd probably actually be, I think he should actually be Jaedong, not Flash, because I think they were equally good personally. And the thing about Jaedong was he had insane skills. He was good at every matchup and he was mega clutch. So I think he can be Jaedong. I guess I would put Flash as Federer, because I think overall for me he's the best. He was the best in every context. He could every, again. And now I guess Bisu will be Nadal here. Now look, Bisu was more mechanics and stuff. Nadal's more like insane heart. And then Andy Murray stays as stalk. So there's the updated version for you.
Name a PC game and a piece of television that you are looking forward to watching / playing in 2023 and 2024, excluding Napoleon. Oh man, we can't pick Napoleon.
So wait a minute, it's television or movie and then a game.
Yeah, a PC game and a piece of television / movie that we're looking for.
That's the joke. I don't play games, so it's when it's actually fixed. I want to play CS2. There's my joke. And then for television and movie, yeah, Napoleon one sounds pretty good. Who else is even doing anything? Let me you do something. I'll look something up.
I actually don't even know what's coming out. I am so insulated. The problem, guys, is that I am so fucking insulated from advertising that I literally just have no idea what is like. I don't really see a lot of game or movie advertisements or trailers. So I don't really know. I don't really know.
Just trying to find one for movies. I'm sure I can find one. I'm just looking up like people on IMDb where it says the upcoming movies. So I'll find one in a second. Then we'll do that in a second. All right. Nah, I can't. There wasn't one. Fuck. Let me have a look. Director.
Is the Boys season 4 coming out? I guess I'm kind of interested. Yeah. I guess I'm kind of interested in the next season of The Boys, even though the last season of The Boys ended really badly. I don't know.
Put it this way, I can't name one specifically, but any of my favorite directors, so it could be like Wong Kar-wai, fucking David Cronenberg, Christopher Nolan, any P.T. Anderson, any of these people, any of their movies I'm looking forward to. There you go.
Yep. What are your thoughts on this World's? Oh my God. It's a World's format question. So what are our thoughts on this World's format? 4 or 5 team groups for the group stage, single round robin, best of 3s. Okay, so we have 20 teams in 4 groups doing best of 3s. Got it. 5 for LPL and LCK, 7 combined for LCS and LEC, 3 minor regions for decided by the International Wildcard Tourney. Top seed from each group goes straight to double elimination part of playoffs. So we get 4 teams.
It's a bit like TI. It's a bit like TI where you go to the
4 teams straight into double elimination quarters. Second and third from each group go to wild card, single elimination part of playoffs. Oh, okay. So it's
quite similar to TI actually. Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so basically the second and third teams don't get an extra life, but the top 4 teams do. Winner of wild card round goes to... okay, never mind. They're just saying second and third play each other for the last spot in double lim quarterfinals.
Yes.
Okay, fair. So it's not going to the bottom, the losers bracket. It's just those teams play one best of 5 each to decide who goes to quarters. One more rule. No teams from the same region can play in the wild card or first round of the double. No, that's dumb. You have to be able to have teams of the same region play in the first round.
It ruins it. Yeah, it ruins
of the double elimination bracket. Because honestly, at that point in time, your qualification for the bracket is so robust that you just have to accept that regions will have to play each other. Because otherwise, it could fuck up the bracket really badly. Because if you have like 4 Korean teams and 3 Chinese teams, like, it just gets really stupid at that point in time. I mean, I think it's fine. I would prefer that to what we have now, but there's a lot more games in that format because you're playing 5-team round robin best of 3s. That's a lot of games. It's a more robust format, so I like it, but I just don't think it's possible at Worlds because they won't have the time to do that format.
It's very similar to this year's TI format. That's why I'm actually quite suspicious about the question, except the tiebreaker thing. You don't skip to the bracket anymore. You play a tiebreaker against 1, against 2, and 3 out the other group. My only problem is this. That sounds really good for the getting the playoffs, but you have to remember the difference between League Worlds and TI is TI is also best of 3 in the playoffs, but it's double elim. So my problem is you definitely can do it, Monty. They do it every year at TI. You just don't play it one game on stream at a time. But Riot refuses to acknowledge multiple streams can exist. So there's no problem. You can run that format in a couple of weeks. It's just they won't do it. So I actually think it sounds great. It sounds like an excellent format, quite frankly. I would love to see that.
All right, we're going to do one more question, guys, because we actually do have to record Competitive Edge after this, and I need to sleep at some point in time. So we'll have to ask other questions in the future. There are a lot this week. Classic. I've been mind blown with people on Reddit suggesting that single elimination is a better format than double elimination for Worlds. I've been on this crusade for 10 years, guys. I can't win the battle. I can't. These people are too dumb. My first mistake, I guess, was reading Reddit. How do I cure myself of this Reddit affliction? How frequently do you guys still browse Reddit now that it's no longer a primary source of viewership for you guys? I mean, I still look at it because there's interesting news on there, but it is a waste of time to read other people's like pleb opinions. Unfortunately, the League of Legends subreddit used to have a lot of people commenting, but now there's not so many people on it anymore, and it's the same like group of very weird people making all the comments these days that just repeat a bunch of lies or are wrong about stuff. So it's actually just pointless to go into the comments. There used to be kind of like a wider diversity of opinions, but now the groupthink of just like a few very eternally online people has kind of dominated it, unfortunately.
This way, it's one thing if someone goes, I don't like Monty as a caster. Now they accuse him of killing people. So that made it not so fun to read anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So all I'll say is this, like, the only reason I read Reddit is just to have some vague sense of what some fans in the world think so that I can either like shit, good call or dog shit opinion. That's about it. This is just for React content. I actually think it's a somewhat worthless format now. The joke is, I mean, it'll make people sound like a boomer, but as much as I hate the way it was moderated, mate, though that like flat format Team Liquid style of post-game threads was about 1,000,000 times better for game discussion. They were doing real actual nerd discussions of builds and fucking things. This is really, like you say, it's just some dog shit echo chamber of popularity. Like that, of course, Ruler is the best, but no actual analysis, just that opinion to the top of the thread. You know what I mean? Give me a break.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is you can tell how few people are actually getting content from Reddit now. I've talked about this before and you brought this up, but it was true that 10 years ago in League of Legends, if you were top 5 in a video on that subreddit, you would legit get like 50 or 100,000 views. It was incredibly important to your content because the YouTube algorithm wasn't good. It was one of the few ways you could drive significant traffic. When our shit hits top 5 on Reddit now, you can literally look at YouTube analytics and it's like 2,000 views. It is completely irrelevant.
You notice that tells you by the way, the same thing happened with Twitter, Monty. Twitter doesn't generate much. You know why? You know that thing they added onto Twitter where when you retweet the article you didn't read, it goes, do you want to read it first? And then you click no and it still retweets it. That's all Reddit and Twitter became. It became morons who don't read or watch the content commenting on what they didn't read or watch based on a title or the person in it. It became the stupidest version of a discourse ever.
Well, I think also now the algorithms may in fact be the downfall of humanity, but for me right now, they really fucking rule because
they're really good. Yeah.
They're really good at serving you the content you want. And that's how most people get it. They just go on YouTube and because they've watched our videos or because they're subscribers, they get the videos delivered to them by YouTube. And most people, I think, just prefer that because you don't have to wade through the cesspool of morons on Reddit or you don't have to rely on them to actually find shit that you like because they're going to upload a bunch of pleb shit a lot of the time too. It may not be of interest to you. So honestly, like the YouTube algorithm does most of the work for content these days, in my opinion. So what's the point?
even though it's actually fucking me, Monty, because I have 250k subs and I'd like the sub box because I'd get all the views. It's the joke is because it gives me so much content too that I wouldn't know about. I'll take the wood for the smooth, as we say. It's just pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that'll do it for this week. Sorry we didn't get to everything right now, guys. It's just this episode is already like almost 3.5 hours long, and I have to sleep at some point in time. I'm in Korea, so we're recording this pretty late. But you know what? You don't have to wait too long, because we're going to come with another episode right after the Swiss stage ends. So this is the part of Worlds where we do like, you know, episodes every 4 or 5 days instead of every week. And we've got plenty more to come for the rest of the year. So thank you guys all very much for watching, and we will see you in just a few days by the time the next phase of Swiss ends. So till then.